Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fabulous Tuesday. And a fabulous Tuesday this will be. Preview season has officially begun. Last week, it kicked off. I was gone. I was out of town trying to not think about work.
I'm going to be honest. I'm trying so hard not to care about these previews.
Have you seen the meme of Jason Momoa sneaking up on Henry Cavill?
No. Wait, yes.
Aquaman on Superman?
Yes. Yeah.
That's how I felt like. I got away from work, and then preview season starts, and it's like, I can't do anything but fab.
I'm just trying to think about Vegas.
That's true.
Man, I can't think about anything right now.
I got every morning to do my test draws, you know.
I got this Bolton shot. I got all this stuff that I got in the Seek and Destroy and whatnot, and it's like, just stop.
I was like, what's a Bolton shot?
Are you renting Scar for a Scar or not in Vegas? Like, that's really the question that I need to be focused on. So I've been trying not to get into the previews, which is not very well in the spirit of the game, ultimately. So maybe that's a problem for me.
I mean, it is a friction point. Because you're all in on Constructed playing this coming week. I guess this week at Vegas.
Isn't that crazy? We're leaving tomorrow evening to get on a plane?
Yeah, and so if you didn't know, this is the only day we're streaming this week.
Yeah.
Because yesterday was a holiday and tomorrow we're going to Vegas.
That's right. Yeah, like every Wednesday.
That's right.
Do you have to have the real ID or anything to fly these days? Didn't the Oklahoma license get weird?
I thought the Oklahoma license worked.
Okay, well, hopefully. I guess we'll find out at the airport.
If not, we at least have an extra day to drive, you know?
So, hopefully, we will be winning Vegas, on Friday, Saturday, whatever it is.
Sunday is when one of us will be crowned the winner.
You and I in the finals. And then we can care about the previews
just
after.
Statistically, not even just like skill-wise. So, let's talk about Vegas for 1 second, okay? I'm really excited about Vegas. I'm really curious to see how many people are there. My prediction... At minimum, there's going to be over 500 people there. But I'm guessing 500 to 1,000, but I could be wrong.
Could be 200.
It could be less. Could be more. Could be 2,000 people there. There's a lot of people that are saying they're going to this event. Very excited. But even a 200-person event, the odds of winning that are so slim, no matter, even if you're exceptionally good.
Yeah.
Let alone making the cut. Making the top 8 of an 11-round tournament with a cut to 8, and then also somehow ending up against your friend in the finals.
Yeah, it'd be magical. We'd have to make a movie about it.
It would. That's what movies are. It's so statistically unlikely. There would have to be a movie, especially the heroes we're playing.
Yeah, I know.
Over the dumpster bin, yeah.
Somehow these two in the finals.
That said, hey, if you're going to be in Vegas, feel free to say hi.
Yeah, come by and say hi. So that said, we do have a preview. We got the preview. We got the preview, which also happens to be the promo card in the first edition subscription. So we're going to share that here in just a second. We're also going to run through all of the previews that are currently on the gallery. So there are some that have popped up in various videos across the internet today. So we just go ahead and wait and make sure that we get the official full art nice version so we can pop them up before we talk about them. So we're really looking at the Guardian stuff and the Ranger stuff that's been previewed so far. We're going to do a brief overview of those. Try not to get too excited so that we can focus on, again, winning the calling in Vegas. Which is going to be one of the most difficult things to be doing in this game, if not in any game.
Because there's like a million.
The balance of this game is so tight that it actually drives me a little bit crazy. In that, you're always, I feel like I'm always in every game. And that a lot of times it really is just, did I see that combination of cards right at the perfect time? And when you get in that tension, like when we were doing all the testing with Tim and Ian and Eric and Matt, I gotta say everybody.
You on?
And
that's all. That's the only people that were there today.
And we were just grinding game after game after game, and eventually you get to where you learn enough to know how to weave into the position you need to be in, and they're trying to do the same thing. And at the end of it, it's just I may have 60% on that one, I may have 65% on that one, I think I have 42% on that one. And so to go through 1,000 rounds of Swiss on day 1 and day 2, and then to get to the finals and be in that same, with the tension is just ratcheted. I mean, good luck to all of us. Yeah. Everybody, good luck.
I mean, I think even if you pick the most prominent hero chain and the least prominent, which is either Azalea or Levia, statistically, I don't know which one's less likely to show up.
Has to be Levia.
And you pair them against each other, it's not 100%.
No, there's no blowouts, really.
So then you realize
just matchup blowouts. There are games that
even if you picked had the perfect deck and you had a 70% chance to win every game, your odds of going 11-0
I know,
are
it's
still
70%.
exceptionally low. Like you're gonna drop some games. Anyways,
It's crazy.
It's gonna be a good time. If you're there, definitely say hi. I have been watching all the previews. I typically try not to look at previews. I just couldn't do it.
Well, let's look at ours.
Plus, the Jason Momoa thing. That was my brother Tim with the previews.
Oh, nice.
I can't avoid them. He's just making them. He's sneaking up on me all the time with them. I just can't get away from it.
And quick check, audio and video sounds good. We'll start popping some cards up here and make sure everything looks good. Why don't we just get into it here? So we've got the Elemental Ruin Blade. That's officially a thing.
What a shock, man! There was some.
We got to talk about.
There were some opinions.
Of course.
About this.
I have opinions on this.
I have opinions about this.
If I had a list of every talent, every class, would I do one class 3 times in a row? I wouldn't, just strictly thinking about it from like, how would I do this? But there's a lot of nuance to that decision that I would like to talk to. But let's show let's get the card as people are hot on previews. So, what's it called?
Hold on. Stir the Wildwood.
Stir the Wildwoods. Let's check it out. Make sure that card is in appropriate fidelity too. Make sure everybody can read that. You guys read that? Does that all look?
I can't read it.
Does that all look right?
What's it do?
It's check it out. Why don't you read it for us?
Stir the Wildwood. This is the red version, so presumably there's 3.
Yeah.
2 cost, 5 attack, 3 defense.
That's really nice.
2 for 5, blocking
2, 5,
for 3.
Okay.
It's an Earth Fusion. I love the border. Seeing this in person is something else. We'll come back to the Rune Blade conversation. We'll stove in. If you have dealt, it's an elemental Rune Blade action.
Yeah.
Worth noting. If you've dealt arcane damage to an opposing hero this turn, Stir the Wildwood gains +2.
Okay.
So if you do a rune damage, it's an arcane damage.
It's
in my
arcane,
brain, it's rune
right.
chant.
That's right.
It's now a 2 for 7.
Okay.
Not bad. If Stir the Wildwood was fused, because Earth Fusion. Mm-hmm. So when you play it, if you reveal an Earth card in your hand, that's how you fuse, right?
Yep.
Let me make sure.
It's a good way to put hand pressure on.
That's right. Yeah. It also gets +2. So now it's a 2 for 9 if you can meet both of those conditions.
And a 2 for 9 is respectable.
That's
in the game of Flesh and Blood.
Especially out of Rune Blade. I'm used to like little bitty attacks. I have to pay like 2 for 4 a lot of times.
That's technically 3 better than Brutal Assault. That's like a +3 Brutal Assault right there.
With some serious restrictions.
That's right.
Now, I will say 2 things that stick out to me about this card. One, it's not a 6. I'm in like Prism mode.
Right, okay.
So it's not an actual 6, but it probably has the value of a 6.
Isn't that interesting how they're finding ways to... Can everybody see this okay? Somebody said something about ants. Is that real? Everybody seems to be able to read it. Yeah, okay. We're good.
Ants?
No. Like it's too small on the screen. I just want to make sure it's not. Sometimes we get into this and then like something's wrong and we don't find out until 5 minutes later and then everything's confusing. Yeah. So let's just dive into this for a second.
So the thing I want to know as we're diving in, the blue version of this card
is going to be bananas.
It seems really good.
Yeah.
Because it's 2 for 7 that blocks for 3.
Yeah. Well, that's assuming you can do both conditions.
Right, but like it could be a 2 for 7. Or maybe it's a 2 for 5 that's a blue.
Uh-huh.
Those ratios are still pretty good. Even a 2 for 9. So also something to consider, because this is the format of Dallas and Cincinnati Callings. In sealed, this is a bonks common.
Yes, incorrect.
Well,
okay, but here's...
Okay, tell me more.
All right, let's talk. I tried not to be excited about previews so much, and now you're going to uncork the bottle. The genie is coming out.
What I'll say before I let you
Can't bring anybody back from the dead.
Is that... That's right, it's rule 1. You can't ask for more wishes.
There's definitely 3 rules.
Is that this is, on the surface, an extremely simple card. But it actually hits at so much of the nuance of Flesh and Blood, it drives me crazy.
I know, yeah. They just find ways to...
Tell me why this is... what's going on in your brain?
So things that we don't know. Here's what we don't know. First of all, Earth Fusion, Ice Fusion, etc. You got to reveal a card from your hand that is a certain type. Let's say half of your deck is that type of card.
Yeah.
50%. So 1 of every 2 cards is that type. Let's say you block with 2 cards from hand.
Uh-huh.
Now you got to pay...
Yeah.
You got to show, and you got to play.
Right. So you have to have something.
This is a 3-card hand right here.
Yeah. Or it has to go in Arsenal.
Or Arsenal plus 2 cards. So is it more likely that we're only going to be able to hit one of these conditions almost all of the time? Probably.
Based on plain Viscerae, it feels like rune chant damage is more likely. Or what it really means is that they cover up a rune chant damage, and it also reduces the value of this attack. So if they're choosing, do you block extra on this attack, or do you pay it off? You pay it off.
I think most of the time this is going to be a 2 for 7. I think the vast majority of the time it's going to be 2 for 7, but it's one of these cards that scales up itself based on you not taking as much damage or you not having to block as much during your turn. So, you and I are always looking for that 3rd and 4th card.
Yeah.
So this is like the 3rd and 4th card baked in. Like Earth Fusion is basically you gave me that 3rd card and it's an Earth card.
Yeah.
Now I get Stir the Wildwood for 9 instead of 7.
Yeah, which is also why I think the blue version is so fascinating to me. Because if I have it, and it's either a resource if I have to block with 2 cards.
Yeah.
Or it can be the card I'm playing if I don't.
Yeah.
Is where it gets really
It's
interesting.
very saucy. It's
yeah.
very
Now,
good.
of course, this is knowing nothing else about the Elemental Runeblade card pool.
Not really. We've seen the hero, we've seen the hero, Brian. We've seen some stuff that happens with that hero.
But like,
the general game plan is the same.
Yeah, but just understanding the cards, and I want to talk about a Runeblade principle in a second, but understanding what else is around. Like, if I can show you a card that I can then, like, use to pump that for free, or, like, is an instant, or, like, because that's the other concern.
That would be interesting.
Because this doesn't have go again.
So what do you do with the card you showed?
That's the big thing.
You've shown.
Or maybe it's a good Arsenal card or whatever.
Is there an Earth attack reaction? Is there an Ice attack reaction?
This is where I'm coming from. But here's what I'll say. I've been playing a lot of Runeblade over the past, I don't know.
Why would you be doing that?
It's because I'm playing Viscera in Vegas. But the thing about it is that a lot of the Runeblade cards, the core generic non-talented Runeblade, forces you to understand the number of attacks and non-attacks that are in your deck and that you're playing. And I even saw a preview card come through that, like, something is based on you had to have played a non-attack, or I don't remember what it was. I was just reading some of the spoilers.
Yeah, it's still the play non-attacks and do arcane damage kind of stuff.
Infusion is that same principle in any elemental deck, which is if you're lightning, ice, then you got to be concerned with how many of each of those you're putting in your deck, how many are left. Because, like, I found myself sometimes, you're looking for a big Sonata play with Viscera, and it's like 18 non-attacks are in my discard pile and 4 attacks.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a problem.
Yep.
Statistically, this is not going to go super well for me.
Yep.
You could also just get lucky, of course, but it's the same thing. So then you mix the two, and that's what makes Elemental Runeblade. It's going to be like calculus.
It's going to be fun. I mean, they're finding... I think what's happening is we've seen these original heroes are so just raw efficiency. Arcane Rising. So you saw the Welcome to Wraith heroes are the epitome of just consistency to me, right?
Yeah.
So you have Katsu and you have Bravo and you have Rhinar, I think was in WTR,
and Dory,
and then Dory. These are like the brick wall of efficiency. There is so little. Dory's inconsistency is I drew all 4 reds and I have to swing the sword once this turn, maybe.
Or really probably swing the sword and pump for 3.
Yeah, and pump for 3, like that kind of a turn. But then you
get block for 12.
Then you get to like Ranger, Wizard kind of stuff, and it's like top of deck could be anything, and it's important what it is.
Even Runeblade.
And Runeblade is the same way.
Yeah,
you get these weird consistency balance type questions that start to happen, right? And so then we push that into Monarch, and I feel like we get some inconsistent concepts that get consistent mechanics, which is like if you have enough soul, you get extremely consistent with those light heroes. If you have enough Banish Zone, you're supposed to be able to get extremely consistent. Chain does that well. Leviah is kind of waiting for some things, in my opinion. And then we have what's looking like Aria is kind of like the Arcane Rising to Monarch, where it's like, let's just uncork entirely the consistency, randomization, use what you've got philosophy. And now not only are we having to reveal cards as extra cost, so you have the same card tax that Monarch was doing all the time, where it's like Bolton's like, 4-card hand, I can do 6 damage, I'm charging my soul, like that's all. So now we've got that, your hand is being taxed, plus we're seeing your resources being taxed by ice, plus we're seeing you're gonna have to fuse in various ways, and you're still gonna have to do arcane damage, non-attacks. You got to balance like 16 axes now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, bring it on.
Well, and I was going to say, it's complexity in the best possible way for me.
Yeah, because it's not adding new ideas.
It's not complexity of executing the game.
What's it, a 7 damage attack, a 9 damage attack? Yeah, it's great.
Nothing about how the game is operating is really changing. I think past the soul and like manipulating the Banish Zone, like, and we saw a little bit with the library where what you pitch matters.
Yeah.
Right? And like Mutated Mass, same thing, where it's like, but like really, this is again like the idea of Earth Fusion. Reveal a card, and it's kind of like Flock of the Featherwalkers, right? It's the
Just
same,
like it,
same
yeah.
concept. There's just a word for it because it can be happening so frequently. That adds a whole new layer that you have to consider. And I can't tell you, seeing all these previews, I'm so happy that Dallas and Cincinnati are Tales of Aria sealed.
They're smart to do that, aren't they?
This is going to be an insane sealed set.
Okay. That kicks into the reality of what we have to actually discuss. Oh, the promo. We got to discuss that. Let's show the promo. Show the first edition subscription promo.
It's the...
I would honestly say like, so, get your subscriptions in, but obviously they're out.
Sold out and already
out for a while.
charged. There it is.
But I love the art on this, man. I really think it's beautiful. And what I think is happening, we saw this with Boneyard Marauder in the last set with Monarch. Legendary doing a really fun thing, which is basically choosing a class, maybe the worst class of the set. We don't know.
That's impossible.
Maybe that was the case with the Vial.
I
I don't know. Maybe that's the case. Or maybe they're just tantalizing me to, or you now to get it and be like, hey, play the Stir the Wildwood, would you? But they're giving us like staple, it seems like staple cards for that class.
Yeah. And I like it. It's not like the fancy.
It's just everything we love about Legend Story and Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
It's not fancy. It's just legitimately good.
Look at that thing. That's what we've actually been looking at, the exclusive. And like, the longer I look at it, the more it blows my mind.
Rainbow foil. It's got the shine. It's got the beauty.
And if you're unfamiliar, so we send an exclusive promo with every box through our first edition booster box subscription. It is sold out. You can sign up for the wait list. We are working on better technical solutions to make sure everyone gets that quicker next time and at the same time. But if you are a subscriber, you've already been charged. You should have gotten those emails, and you'll be getting one of these with every box. So shout out to you for allowing us to do what we do.
Thanks for doing the marketing there.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? So when we first set this up and reached out to Legend Story and we worked this out, this promo and everything around Flesh and Blood, it's like we thought we needed an extra shot in the arm to like get people to move the needle on the sub, where it's like, yeah, we'll give a little extra incentive and like, get some booster boxes in the people's hands. And now it's kind of like funny because, well, maybe funny isn't the right word, but it is
unnecessary.
It's totally unnecessary now, but now it's just sugar on top of the sundae.
Yeah. Well, and when we were first setting up, I mean, the intent was that they would be cards specifically that people wanted to play.
Yeah.
And that when you play them, you're probably going to play all of them. So like the first one was that Scar for a Scar, which is just a generic staple.
That was a crazy promo.
Yeah. And it just looks great. So anyways, I'm super happy. As a Rune Elemental, love it. Rune Blade, also love it.
It's built for you.
Let's talk about Rune Blade in
But
general.
then I love the elements, so we got to fight over it.
Yeah, that's fine.
As a lover of elements.
Generally. Yeah, okay. Every set you'll say that. It's like, light and dark. I love that concept. Angels and demons. But
I love religious combat.
Interesting things about the set so far. Given that my two favorite characters / classes are Guardian and Rune Blade. Chain was fine. Just thematically, I like Viscera a lot more. And I like Bravo / Guardian. Having those two in this set makes me very happy as a person. But that's separate from...
I got Ranger.
Macro, right. For us, this is like a glorious
It's kind of the set, isn't it? And it's choke. It's like they're causing us to
Ice
fight.
Ranger? Yeah.
I mean, they're honestly causing us to fight because the Oldhim choke man is exactly what I would play, barring any previous understanding of what Flesh and Blood is, because it's Greyjoy choke.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Just ice.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that, given the box, I'm very shocked that once I found out it was 3 heroes, I thought, okay, they're only going to do 3 elements. But that seemingly the elements we're getting are earth, lightning, and ice.
It's just very alternative. You would think fire, water.
There's red on the box. I'm shocked.
Earth. Where, an ice over water. A lot of people make this choice, but let me tell you, don't discount the beauty of water non-frozen. Everybody in the fantasy universes gets this crazy fervor for ice.
Do they really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I thought water, because ice
Last
is water.
Airbender is kind of the exception, but then otherwise it's like, oh, you want to do Frost Ranger, you want to do Frost Arrows, and you do Frost Mages, and you do Frost this and Frost that. When's the last time you saw like a Water Wizard versus a Frost Wizard? You know what I'm saying? Or a Water Ranger. Nobody plays a Water Ranger. It's all like, their arrows are cold. It's ice. What do we do with water arrows? We splash people?
Interesting.
Use your imagination.
I didn't know it was so disproportionately favored towards ice as a concept.
I've been paying attention.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's very important to
I'm
me.
just over dealing with fire and earth always.
Was it a super soaker?
Lightning is interesting too, though, right?
Yeah, that's not even really an element.
Because normally it's earth, fire, water, wind.
It's like wind, fire.
Either void or heaven or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Sometimes wood, metal.
Yeah.
In the Eastern thing.
Earth, lightning, and ice. So they went with earth.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
What are the alternatives, I guess? Rocks?
I don't know.
What mud? I mean, like, that's kind of what lightning is like mud.
Plant.
To earth. Maybe
go with
fauna,
growth.
Flora.
Growth fusion.
But they're not the standard elements.
No.
And is this something, is their world revolving around a different elemental idea, or is this an Aria related thing based on is there the 3 cities or something? Do you know, you're the lore guy. Do you know anything about that?
Lore guy, I read the book once. It doesn't necessarily make me an expert. I mean, as far as I know, so Aria is a region of the, what's the place called?
There's
I forget what the world is called.
Wraith?
Is it Wraith?
The whole thing is Wraith,
okay.
I think, yeah.
And they're basically protected by this bubble, and they kind of have this like force called the flow.
Yeah.
It's the energy, that whole thing. It feels like you described it as the force.
Okay.
I didn't know it was elemental really until this. That was seemingly somewhat of a reveal, but I don't know. Like I know Volcor has like a lot of lava fire stuff going on. So maybe fire is being reserved there, but it doesn't make sense because if the talent of Aria is elemental, then Volcor...
But haven't we been wrong all the time about everything they're doing?
Constantly.
Yeah.
Like the number of people that would have bet, if I'd been like, give me the Runeblade odds as the third hero, I would have made a lot of money.
So...
Or lost a lot, actually, because I would have been on the wrong side.
I've got a new strategy here. I've got a new suggestion.
Okay.
For Flesh and Blood. I think what we should do... There was one thing that I was wanting to key on, which is... Nobody wants to actually ingest what James has said in various interviews, as far as I can tell. And that is that this is a game that wants to be great at limited. Like, constructed, of course. I mean, you have to be good at it. But limited is like, when we're putting things together, that's what we're going to like really make our decisions based on. So I'm just not even going to try to imagine how the constructed environment and constructed balance and all of that is going to work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, we got a new set, we've got 3 new classes, and I want to get as many 6-pack sealed games in with this as its own totality as possible. And just say, you know what, we got 3 elemental things going on. It's like a brand new game. I'm just going to play this for about a month and a half. And then maybe I'll figure out how to implement it into some kind of constructed madness.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So that actually brings me to another point. So there were some number of people that were not excited about the fact that it was Runeblade.
Yeah, I mean, so this is totally reasonable, right?
Which I get.
Think about it. You got what are the first 4? We just named the first 4. We've got an extra brute stuff, right?
Yeah, we got a second brute.
We got extra.
We now have second guardian.
We already got extra Runeblade stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We got extra. Who was us? So we got extra warrior stuff.
We're currently missing wizard, ninja, mechanologist.
Mech, right? But mechanologist is like on an island,
and I'm
out to sea.
I'm strongly convinced that mechanologist is a talent.
That does seem to be like the last Band-Aid rip that.
Yeah, it's like, haha, we tricked you. That wasn't an actual class.
And I was like, well, we've been thinking that.
And there's a lot of reasons for that, but one of them is that the borders on Dash and all the cards are the same, whereas like the Runeblade or Viserai's border matches his region and not his thing.
These borders, man, I swear, it's like 6D chess, or it's just a complete roll of the dice. Maybe they keep saying it's very intentional, and it's really just whatever looks pretty.
It seems very intentional to me. But like seeing
this hundreds of hours.
So like on Stir the Wildwood, seeing the Runeblade border in the elemental Aria colors makes me very happy.
Oh yeah, I mean this is a Runeblade I actually want to play.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's not moody at all.
Have you seen her? She's totally moody.
Moody, like nature
the
moody?
Character? Have you seen her?
Yeah.
Briar?
It didn't look that moody.
She looks moody to me. She actually looks a lot like Taylor Swift to me. That's a separate conversation.
Well, that is top level moody. Let me tell you.
So here's the thing about it though, and you mentioned something that I hadn't thought of, and I want to highlight this point, which is, from everything I know, again, the rumor mill gets to churning, and we'll have to have James on again at some point on the podcast to talk about it and ask all these questions yet again. But they had a lot of the game developed before it launched. like several years worth of content. And I do think that sealed / draft is a huge concern for them when they're constructing these sets. Like it's a big deal. There was an article last time where it was like it. And so when I think about this set for sealed and draft, one thing, it seems insane because you obviously have there's only 3 characters at a time. So there's less choice at the table, right? We're all going to be going. Then also every character has 2 elements they want. So there are cards that more people, because like in Monarch, once you went Runeblade, if you're not playing Runeblade, those cards are basically blank to you.
Yeah.
Like when you're pulling.
Yeah, you're completely right.
So you have generics, you have the element-specific cards, and then you also have the class-specific cards, of which, right, there's just a small pocket of those things going on. So you can actually leave yourself open to go with a different character with your early picks in like a draft because you're ultimately just picking ice, right? And it's like, I know I can pivot to
that's so interesting.
Either of these 2 characters.
You could play Ranger with ice or you could play Old Man with ice.
That's right. Or Oldhim. So that being said,
that's so true.
It makes sense to me if they map out the 8 regions, the 8 talents, right? And then they start building like 3 or 4 heroes for each of those talents. Pick the hero, start building the cards, figure out how Runeblade's going to work in Aria, figure out how Runeblade's going to work in, Volcor or wherever else you might put Runeblade. And then once you're fleshing those out, right, is this like big pile of cards, which is good. That's so good for balance reasons.
Yeah.
To have that much vision. But then when you're like, okay, looking at what classes and heroes we're going to include in the first 50 sets, right, and how that's going to work. The reality is, and I don't think anyone's disappointed that we're getting another Guardian and another Ranger.
Right.
Like everyone is like, Ranger needs cards.
Nah,
right?
I don't need anything.
I don't know. Torn Asunder or whatever it is looks insane.
Seek and Destroy. Yeah, Seek and Destroy looks that's the one that gets rid of everything.
There is also something Asunder. I think that's a Guardian card.
Yeah, there is an Asunder card. Yeah.
But so those
Bolton shots.
No one's like surprised or upset that those 2 got right. Those 2 got announced, and it's like, okay, cool. Like this is cool. Then Runeblade gets announced, and it's like.
But we got our constructor brains on.
That's where I'm going. Because like if you're looking at sealed, and it's like, let's say you're going to do all of the 9 current classes, assuming mech is a class, in Aria at some point. And you know how you're going to do wizard, you know how you're going to do whatever.
And maybe you're not going to do that,
Right? But like as an example, a lot of people want a wizard. But a problem that immediately happens with wizard is that if you're doing arcane damage, a lot of arcane damage in a single set, you have got to include the ability for people to have arcane barrier.
Yeah, null rune,
so
arcane barrier.
So then your equipment slots, suddenly you have this problem, right? So when you're looking at all the elemental heroes to put together, I would not be shocked at all if we do eventually see an elemental wizard, but you're putting that in a set with either other elemental wizards or where you're already putting arcane barrier as like a central focus of that set.
Yep.
So that draft and sealed are actually like good.
That's right. No, that's completely right. I think you're balancing on a totally different axis than what's the constructed environment going to be, post Monarch.
Yeah.
I think, what I actually think? I guess I'll say it for the first time ever on stream. Just kidding. I think that they're confident because, and this is true about the balance of the game, because whatever, strange algorithm they have that is just working in terms of balance, if you're confident enough in that, you can release any cards however you want, and the constructed environment is going to be fine.
Yeah.
Because the cards are fine. We have seen the greatest amount of diversity imaginable to me. Not imaginable. It'd be like 10% across every hero, but in these Road to Nationals, for any competitive game I've ever played, bar none, not even close. I mean, you maybe have 3 to 4 top decks in a that would be in a top 8 in a traditional environment. Destiny, and Star Wars TCG and Star Wars, all the way back. Everything I've ever played. Spoil is the same way. There's 2 to 3 main decks, and everybody's kind of on them or variations therein. But to see every hero at least getting some representation in a top 8 of at least 30 plus tournament players, that is, I don't think there's been players notoriously, ourselves included, are always talking about what's wrong or maybe what could be better. Human nature, etc. But to really step back and just be like, that's a miracle. That's an absolute miracle. That's an absolute miracle that is even conceivable in this game.
99% of the games I've ever played at this point in their history would be totally off the rails and requiring like a rules document to clarify things.
How many FAQs and erratas have we gotten?
And ban or strict or whatever.
Like, we got to introduce a restricted list to keep the meta healthy.
Literally all of them. And most of those games were LCGs and had far less cards.
Yeah.
So, that's miraculous. So, going back to the Runeblade thing, though, The other part of this that's really fascinating to me is that at 2 pieces. One, Chain and Visceray were totally different heroes that used very few of the same cards.
Almost very little overlap.
Yeah, like you have Mavrian Skies, and then like there's a couple cards that they both used, but very little overlap. And Chain only played the like Grasp of the Arknight because that's 3 armor that existed.
He just found it off of Visceray's corpse.
So the recognition is Briar, as an example, the new elemental hero, Runeblade, I think is going to be completely different, and 90% of the cards are not going to matter for Chain or Visceray, and Visceray is consistently not at the top of this list. So it's not like it hurts a little bit and I think this is the feeling, which is if you've been getting beat by Chain a lot or he's been winning a lot of events, it's like, oh, just more Runeblade cards. Like, that's cool. Like, he's just going to get better. But I look at all of the stuff in the Ranger and Guardian previews, and I do not think life gets easier for Chain at all. Like, seems like the game Monarch to me was like all out aggro meta, and this is showing up and saying you can't play like that anymore.
Yeah,
which is cool. Like, again, thinking through like how the game is going to evolve over time, it is worthwhile to consider how you're going to make sure that all of these heroes feel fresh. And I actually wouldn't be shocked without Runeblade happening if you actually just took those out. I haven't seen any cards from Runeblade that make me think, oh, that's for Chain, right? But like, he may actually, in the meta that's about to exist, have been prepared to not even be playable anymore.
Maybe.
I don't think that's true.
Or he may, and this is where I've been too, maybe the generic Runeblade cards are there to help Chain adapt to the fact that now it's going to be a lot harder for him to play the game he was playing.
So we just don't have that information yet, right? We know it's Runeblade, and if you've been losing to Runeblade a lot right now, that could hurt. But at the same time, it's like, I'm assuming, kind of like that there was a couple of the Ranger cards, and they even have Azalea on them. It's like, that's for Azalea.
Probably for... And
that might be playable by...
You know what's crazy?
Lexi.
My Azalea list, as it sits now, would probably definitely run Bolt and Shot, I think, in one of the slots, the arrow slots. I could buy 3 of that single card, and my deck is updated to Aria. Like, there's one more generic Ranger card that we're going to see. You can do the double arsenal thing. I don't think Azalea is going to be built to do that because, you know, what we've seen is that these heroes are like 95% in their card pools. Yeah. Like, this is how they are being built.
Which I saw someone asking, and it's true, it's such an advantage for new players to have it be structured that way, at least initially.
Yes.
Later, if you're just releasing generic Runeblade cards that are potentially good for a lot of Runeblades, it's cool. But like, right now, you could buy 2 or 3 boxes of Monarch and probably build 2 or 3 constructed decks that are reasonable.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
And if you love Leviah, let's say, you buy 2 or 3 boxes of Monarch, and then for the next 5 years, you might be buying 1 to 2 singles every time there's new Brute cards. Now, sometimes for some players, maybe that's bad, right? Where it's like, this deck is somewhat static. But the weird thing is, having done all of the actual tournament prep with Azalea and looking at all the different matchups and trying to suss out what the meta is actually going to be, I have tools in that card pool to adapt to anything that's in front of me. Are they doing a lot of wide attacks? Are they doing a lot of tall stuff? Are they not attacking me at all? How can I punish that? Poison the tips, etc. Are they a combo deck? Are they a control deck? I feel like I have the breadth of tools that I have to just choose the right combination of them for the given environment. And as those environments change, even though your same Visceray card pool is there, your Visceray deck build changes because you have to adapt to what the meta is doing now.
Absolutely.
So it's like, hey, this card's no good. And it's like, until Oldhim comes along. And then it's like, oh, you got to pay for stuff? All of those reduced by X rune chant cards suddenly get bonkers.
I think looking at these previews, Visceray is way better. Like, without the new stuff, literally just the structure of... Because the cost increase happens before the decrease on his cards, right? So you have like Arknight Ascendancy. You have 10 rune chants, it's like they can make it cost 4 extra, and you don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is super cool that, again, you can have a hero that previously was fine, but then also his cards in certain metas might get better or different.
And then maybe, I'm sure the Elemental Guardian card pool plus the Guardian generics are going to have tools that say, oh, well, if we're in a meta where there's a lot of cost reduction and stuff that where your Frostbite token's not mattering as much, you have other avenues. You can grind them out with shield and one-hander.
Or other ways to use those tokens.
That's right.
Right? Like other reasons that makes a lot of sense for you. So anyways, if you're perturbed by the inclusion of Runeblade, here's what I will say. one, generically, I said earlier, I'm excited because I'm a Guardian Moonblade player. So just know there are people that are excited. But two, literally, Legend Story Studios has continued surprising me at pretty much every turn. Mm-hmm. And in the end, I'm pleasantly surprised by almost all of it all the time.
Yeah, I've been really into it.
Yeah, me too. So I'm curious what happens. I'm curious the state of the meta after this.
You gotta give me some Hexagore love, man.
But like I think the seeds are planted.
It's so there.
At some,
it's like,
the
it
thing
feels
is,
like it's possible.
You know what? I'll go out on a limb. I think that they knew the players they were designing for with those cards, and they were like, you know what? These are the kind of players that really like to struggle. They are. And so what we're going to do is we're going to build in a struggle, which is it's going to take a year and a half for this to pay off. But when this finally works...
You're saying the struggle is going to work out for me.
They are going to be so pleased with the way this works.
Okay.
That's my bet.
I mean, it's very possible. And apparently there's Leviathan decks that are really good. I just haven't found them yet. I haven't. But apparently they're out there.
I've heard that there are Leviathan decks that are good sometimes.
Yeah, well...
You know, the brute way.
You just have to kind of get a little creative in what you're doing.
Someone at Gruder saying, "Where's our flail attack reaction? Come on."
I know. I mean, honestly, that one thing would probably be enough.
If you had a flail pummel style thing.
Even if it was just like a zero, if it was a zero cost or like a blue. Here's what you give me. You give me a 1 cost flail attack reaction, so I can pitch a blue, swing hex for 2, and then play the attack reaction for 1. And it's like, you know, something crazy. Like +4 or +8 or whatever. And if it hits, you get to banish a card of your choice from your graveyard.
+6, am I right?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for not being a dummy here. So if you do that...
It's like 3 of a kind blocking for 3. I mean, come on.
How did they miss it?
It's right there. Exactly. It's right there on the card.
I have faith in Legend Story until it comes to 3 of a kind, and it's like that card didn't block for 3 is the greatest disappointment of my life in Flesh and Blood, correct?
I was going to say, wow.
Not in my life. That would be a joy if that was the greatest disappointment of my life. But give me a flail attack that can banish cards so that I can swing the flail without having to play an attack first, and I'm a happy person. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? They could have a flail reaction.
Or some gloves. Give me those gloves. I'm tired of running the gamblers. Give me the flaily gloves, and it says every time you attack with a weapon, you can banish a card from your graveyard.
Here's the other trick you could do. I like the banish.
Battle-worn 6.
I think you do 1 cost +6. Only playable from Banish Zone.
That actually works just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no
Because then
issue
once
with
you
that.
get to that end-game state,
yeah,
it's
you
like
start
you
flailing.
Flail for 12, and then rinse and repeat. Anyways, you can have that one for free, Legend Story. I'm sure you haven't thought of it. You ready to talk about some of these reviews? Also, it's worth knowing. I shouldn't say what I was about to say.
What was it? Oh man! Wow. Now I'm just on the edge of my seat.
I was gonna say. I know.
Don't say it. Don't say it. You're not gonna say it.
I'm gonna say it.
Okay, just say it.
I know. We were talking about the promos and first edition, and like there were people. I know there were a lot of people that. Because there were a lot of people on the list. They were disappointed they didn't get it on first edition. So we're working on something that might go in the unlimited subscription.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't want to say anything about it. Yeah.
It's not official. It's not from Legend Story.
It's not official. It's not from them, but we are working on it. So if you're not on that, check out our unlimited subscription. It's there if you want to guarantee you get products whenever that's coming out. And we're looking at some stuff on that.
Yeah, and it's like, it's the best. I mean, you can't get it at a better price.
Legally.
Legally, yeah. I mean, you can get the guy down the alley. I saw some guy on the Reddit was saying, like, PM me if you need some boxes. It's like, whoa. It's like, we've really got a black market now going on with first edition.
Yeah, I had a person over the weekend. I have some random stuff I have extra throughout my life on eBay. And he was messaging me. He's like, hey, message me on WhatsApp. I have some questions. And I'm like,
no.
What?
No.
Not happening.
Can you call my burner phone? We can get this first edition deal worked out.
It's like explicitly against the terms of eBay. They don't want you leaving the platform to make transactions happen. Anyways, let's take a look at this. So first up, we have Oldhim, Grandfather of Eternity. This guy looks awesome.
It's kind of, you know what? There are certain fantasy archetypes that you kind of just have to hit over the course of your game.
Is that not the archetype you were going for?
And Santa Claus is one of them. No, this is just basically a dwarf. This is your old, ancient, tough...
But he's a giant, I think.
Night's Watch.
He's a giant. He's giant.
He's the opposite of a dwarf, which is ironic, but he's playing like you would expect a dwarf to
but in
play.
giant
He's
form.
got a giant beard. He's got shoulders up to his ears.
And man, if that's not the largest shield this side of Castle
He's got a
Rock.
shield. He's he's
I like that when you're doing it.
So there are people that really get into this. Stand where I am. Don't take damage. Be the unmovable rock, like a mountain, like earth. And this is the one. So this is an archetype that you would expect to see in a game eventually.
If you played RTSs and you ever built walls,
Yeah.
this guy's probably for you.
I just built 13,000 towers.
Yeah.
Eventually got on my opponent's base. This is the guy.
He's Essence of Earth and Ice, which means you can play Earth and Ice cards in your deck.
I assume that's right.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Guardian, Earth, Ice. If I could choose the 3 elements, I would choose Earth. Don't know that I'd choose Ice.
You choose
but that's
lightning.
okay.
I definitely choose lightning. Yeah, you like the shots.
Once per turn, defense reaction.
I mean, come on.
3 cost 3. It looks like Guardians aren't getting away from blues. If an Earth card is pitched this way, prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to Oldhim this turn. If an Ice card is pitched this way, the attacking hero puts a card from their hand on top of their deck. So riddle me this: pitch 3, card 1, and if that card happens to be an Earth Ice card, then you prevent 2 damage, and they put a card from their hand on top of their deck.
Let it never be true. May it never happen.
That's unbelievable.
Now, you said they put it on the top of their deck? Or
on top of their deck? Hey, it's
Azalea's back.
support.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it, man.
It's like, oh, you want to let me load my favorite arrow on top of my deck?
They're just going to put things on the top of the deck until Azalea gets good.
I'm into it.
But hopefully not with like Rise Above. You know, it's just like, what is this?
No, like your opponent's negative effects are you forcing cards on top of your
That's
deck.
right. It's like Oldhim's like, put that arrow back in your quiver. And she's like, okay, well, I'll just shoot it again.
Yeah, here we go.
I like it.
Endless.
But this is great. I think having a defense reaction on tap like this, even if just to prevent 2 damage, can be very meaningful. And the fact that, do you not get the sense that this is going to be the fatigue man of the century? Do you not get that sense? That you can actually block 2 damage with 1 card in your hand that you just pitch and block and make them put one on the topsies?
Yeah, so if we go with the expected units of value, right, whatever that is.
It's like a 5-er.
Well, it's like, if you're just preventing 2, 1 card to prevent 2 is not that great.
Not that great.
Because most cards can block for 3. Now, it is a reaction. So if they
most cards?
If they pump, well, I'm used to playing good classes, you see. If they pump, then you can react with this, of course. So that's great. But I find it seemingly way more useful if you pitch an Ice card to put a card on top of their deck. Because
Absolutely.
The number of times it's like, no resources floating, 1 in arsenal, 1 in hand, and they play a big attack, and it's like, is it a pummel?
Or 1 card up, nothing in arsenal, and it's like you don't get an arsenal.
Yeah,
like that. The value of that is crazy.
Yeah. The other thing is, you can react with this ability to prevent damage on like Dominate is relevant, right? So you can still block with something and then get around it.
You get rid of that stupid ancestral empowerment from Katsu. It's like, oh, +1, draw. It's like -2. -2.
So anyways, on the surface, he looks cool. He's a 40 health, 4 intellect. I'm curious if I'll ever start tweaking with those things.
And that's what Swag Up is saying. Of course, you can pitch a yellow and a red, of the different, so you can over pitch or under pitch or whatever the kids call it. Yeah, to build up to it. But every card you're using in addition is really making those abilities bad.
Yeah.
Like 2 cards for that is not...
Situationally, it could be good.
Situationally could be good, that's right.
The reality of like, if you only have 1 card left in hand, and like Ninja is a perfect example of this. They swing and attack, they have 1 card in hand.
It's a Razor Reflex.
Well, or it's they're going to hit and trigger Katsu to get rid of the 0 to go get the card, or it's just a 0 for 4, or whatever.
In the chain with a snatch,
and
or
so
they're going to throw it in arsenal, whatever it is.
Preventing 2 on this thing, and also getting rid of this last card, could be game breaking.
It's true.
Yeah, and it's like, is that Plunder Run you're going to put in arsenal too?
100% it is.
It is every time, yeah.
And they're going to drop back into it. And it's
anyways. There are times where I think, as a Bravo player, right, it's like, I'm willing to block with 3 cards and swing the hammer for 4 a lot. That's not an uncommon thing that happens. Yep. Like, if it's bad, I'll cover it up and then just swing. Same here, which is like, I think he'll probably be willing to spend all of his cards but 1, swing his hammer, and we saw the Ice Hammer, which we'll get to in a second.
You could also do, let's see, so they just have to be in your pitch zone, right? You don't have to use them for that ability necessarily. So, like, if you did pay for unmovable, and then pay 3 for this, or pay for unmovable and then an ice reaction or something, you can
or
try to get
response,
value.
Right? Staunch is 2.
Yeah.
So 2 for, I think the red Staunch is 7.
It is 2 for 7.
So 2 for 7, you have 1 floating, and then you pay 3 with this, right? You have the 1 plus your other 2 on a card.
True.
All of a sudden you staunch and this ability, and it's maybe also getting rid of a card and preventing 2.
And we saw a shield with this, right? So there's a 1 floating you're going to pitch for anyway kind of thing. So let's take a look at it.
Let's take a look. So also, just a note, we also have Oldhim Young version. This should have been called Young Him.
I saw somebody say that in the chat too. Was that your joke originally? Did you think about that yourself?
I wasn't on chat. I was just getting texted from Tim constantly. Promos.
So they're just jokes.
Anyways, Widow's Wail. I thought Widow's Wail. Winter's Wail. Widow's Wail is from Game of Thrones. Winter's Wail, a 4 attack majestic, and it's an elemental guardian weapon, one-handed hammer.
Were you guys talking about whether you were going to get a one-handed hammer or not?
Well,
here it is.
This is elemental. We need a non-elemental for Bravo to run the shield, which we'll come back to.
Okay.
Which solves a big part of his problem. Anyways, once per turn action, 3 cost, classic hammer math. If an ice card is pitched this way, Winter's Wail gains. If this hits a hero, create a frostbite token under their control.
Yeah, you're gonna love this.
Let me see if I can find frostbite.
Wait, scroll up to Oldhim. We gotta see. What does it say? I want to see the text of that card again.
Oh no. Wrong.
What are you doing? What are you looking for? Scroll up to Oldhim. What does it say?
If an earth card is pitched this way,
okay, so it has to be for that ability specifically.
Yeah, you can't.
Okay. It's not in your pitch though.
Yeah. But if you
spoiler season is about saying a lot of things that are wrong.
Yeah, but as an example, you could pitch a yellow and a blue for this card.
Yeah.
Have 2 floating.
And you
pitch the yellow first.
Yeah.
And the 2 can go to staunch.
Yeah.
Right? So all of a sudden it's like that's a pretty
That's a 9 blocked and you put a card on top. Now that's what I'm talking about.
That's value. So what's a frostbite token do?
So you put it under them, and then on their turn, basically the things they want to do cost 1 additional money.
All right. So cards and activated abilities you control cost an additional money.
Yes.
At the beginning of phase, or when you play a card or activate an ability to destroy it. So the first thing they do costs 1 extra.
That's right.
4 frostbite tokens, 4 extra.
That's right.
Yeah. And
they're all
loves
gone.
it.
Yeah.
I love cards that make Viscera great.
Yeah, but also, I've been thinking about this with defense reactions, right? Anything that's like, and I've seen there's some stuff in here that causes those things to happen. So it gets really weird if you can frostbite them, and then it's like, well, I can't react with this sink below, right? Because now it costs me 1.
Yeah,
now that gets crazy.
Not Widow's Wail has to hit to create the frostbite. So if there are other ways to create frostbite,
there's other ways.
That's going to be
there are other ways.
Right,
but anyway, long story short, pay 3, you do 4. Is that right?
Yep.
So 3 for 4, not the best deal in baseball. 2 for 4 is usually what you're looking for in a weapon. The standard of Romping Club and Anothos kind of set in the stage
Anothos
here.
is 3 for 4, but can be a 6.
But it's also a one-hander. So you're not. Those are 2-handed weapons that we're comparing it to, and it creates that frostbite token. Which, let me tell you, people talking about hamstring shot when it comes to Ranger. You look at Ranger players or Ranger channels or whatever. Always just devastatingly
couldn't find
long.
any.
Just bad.
Just kidding.
And it's like hamstring shot is fine. Hamstring shot is my favorite arrow. And right now in this metagame particularly, it absolutely destroys certain archetypes. Destroys them.
I mean, even against Chain, it's like their first attack action costing an extra resource usually saves you an entire attack.
It often does exactly that. Same thing with Ninja. It usually takes away the Razor. It can't take away the Razor. The Kadashi for 2 resources is absolute garbage. You don't want to pay that, but sometimes you have to. So that removes the, into the 1-costers. It removes so many good plays from them. So there's a lot to be said about just 1 resource, an extra 2 or 3. If you can manage a bunch of Frostbite tokens, unbelievable.
Yeah, well, let's see if that's possible with the cards we have previewed so far.
Choke City.
Endless Winter, 4 cost, 8 damage, Elemental Guardian attack, blocks for 3. Oldhim specialization, so only he can play it. Ice Fusion. As this cost to play Endless Winter, you must reveal an ice card from your hand. So this is crazy. Cost 4, right? So you have to pitch probably 2 cards, play this card, and reveal an ice card.
That's right. Now,
you may. You don't have to.
Can you Seismic Sarge this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's Guardian attack. So
it's all the same template, man. They put the same template and they just put new stuff
to be
in
clear, fusing you may do. So he doesn't have to. But if he does, let's see what happens. If Endless Winter was fused, whenever the defending hero adds a defending card to the chain link, create a Frostbite token under their control.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
If it was fused, whenever the defending player adds a defending card to the chain link, create a Frostbite token under their control. Because you block from cards with hand, right? So you block with 1 from hand, you now have a Frostbite.
Wow.
So now the defense reacts do cost 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Then, it's not over yet. If Endless Winter hits a hero, until the end of their next turn, whenever they activate an ability, create a frostbite token under their control.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Now, playing cards is not activating ability, right?
It's so
But
good.
like the tectonic plating, that's an ability that you're activating.
Yeah.
Or Bravo's dominate.
Yeah.
Ability is an ability.
Is swinging with a weapon an activating ability? I can't remember how they ruled that. There was a weird swinging a weapon is playing a card at one point, but I got confused and then I left. So, did you play against Greyjoy Choke ever when we were playing Game of Thrones?
Yeah, you mean the most... Your choke deck versus my burn deck was like the most degenerate match.
It was absolute. It was an exercise in oppression.
Either I could murder your things that kept me from doing things when you played them, or I just didn't do anything after that.
So it's that.
Yeah.
Bless you. So it's very appealing to me. Now here's the
Why
the
is that
question.
so appealing to
I
you?
don't know because I like misery.
And you're an Azalea player. You're a control player. You like to prevent your
dare
opponent
you.
from doing big things.
I'm a disabled player.
Yeah.
I'm the guy.
That's called a control player.
I'm the guy who in the wrestling game is always doing the submission holds. You know, like the chokes and the leg locks
the
and
Scorpion
stuff.
Deathlock.
Yeah, it's just like, well, you're getting tired, so eventually I'll win.
small exchanges that eventually tire your opponent down to the point where they can't compete.
Yeah, that's correct. It's easier to win a game when your opponent can't do what they want to do. Disabling, I like disabling, but it's miserable to play against. So we got to keep an eye on this because it could be very problematic to play a game where you can't do anything.
Sure. Now, this is a crazy... It's the Majestic specialization. Yeah. It should be... Every specialization like this is typically like...
Yeah.
It's Crippling Crush, right? It's
red
like,
in the ledger.
When it's crazy, it's crazy. But again, to make this happen, you have to pay for... So let's say you have the Tectonic Plating -1. So you pay 3, pitch a 3, and you have this card, and you reveal an ice card, and it still has to hit.
Yeah.
So it's at 8. Even though you're creating Frostbite tokens, it's like you could just block it for 9.
Yeah. It's true.
Et cetera, et cetera.
And then you can still play cards even if it hits. You could just not block it at all.
Yeah.
Let it hit, and then just play cards.
Yeah.
It's just activated abilities if it hits?
Whenever they add a card, they create a Frostbite token, and whenever they activate an ability.
Okay. See?
So, like with Bravo, it's
take
take 8, swing with Crippling Crush back.
And then just swing back, yeah.
Let's go.
Easy enough.
You know what? This card's not even good. Just kidding.
Yeah, people asking about noise. Yeah, we have a giant shipment of products coming in currently.
Yeah.
Products relevant to all of you.
Perhaps.
Oak
and Old, red, Majestic. This card looks cool. 3 cost, 7 damage. Elemental Guardian action, action.
That's just the template, though, of the thing that...
Block for 3.
There's so many people that they're going to want to play this.
Yeah. Earth and Ice Fusion. This is what's up. As additional cost to play Oak and Shield, you can reveal an Earth and an Ice card from your hand. If Oak and Shield was fused, so you have to do both.
You got to do both.
You can't do one or the other.
I mean, this is crazy. How many cards is that? 8 cards in hand?
Cost 3. So you pitch that, and then you have to show 2 cards or a single card that's both. We'll come back to that, see if it even exists. If it was fused, it gains +2, dominate, and if this hits a hero, they put 2 random cards from their hand on the bottom of their deck in any order.
They got built-in pummel.
That's like
that's Crippling Crush on ice.
If you have the right cards in your hand.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah. But it's cool, right? Think about it. At this point, I compare it to Bravo. You were saying Welcome to Wraith is the consistent heroes.
Yeah.
So Crippling Crush has always got its effect. As long, it's the 4 damage condition.
Yeah, this is Oak and Old.
But this is conditional on you having the right cards in your hand and your opponent not forcing you to block with them.
That's correct.
Which is fundamental.
Or at least you choosing not to block. They're not doing something that you're that scared about. But you're also, I love that, I think the concern here was, man, if there's a hero that can just make everything you do crazy expensive and just has the shield and it's just super defensive, you know what's going to happen? People are going to play it like they play Degenerate Bravo and Degenerate Dash. Thanks, Matt. And they're just going to block everything, and then they're going to swing with their little sword or weapon or pistol or whatever, and then they're just going to win the game over time. And there's nothing you can do about it because the numbers are too good. So they said, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make all of this disruption discardy stuff that Guardian likes to do go back into their deck instead of discard. So all of this stuff is going bottom of deck, top of deck kind of thing. So the fatigue is you're not actually gaining any fatigue ground. You're just delaying their turn. So if they can break out of it and unfreeze,
this
you're
card
gonna get
doesn't
wrecked.
want to delay, right? I mean, it's a 9 attack with dominate. So like,
And you're dumping cards, but it's not like I want to go to the end game. It's like,
I'm
no.
trying to win the
Yeah,
game.
you're frozen now.
Which I like. I mean, that's how I started even playing Bravo more towards the Road to Nationals season. It was like just more aggressive, where I'm actually playing the big cards and not just swinging the hammer.
Yep.
And he can always do either, right? That's the
got
beauty
those
of the game,
tools, you know.
for sure.
Just don't play against Control Dash, huh?
Well, maybe sooner than later. Let's go. I'm scrolling through all the unknowns.
Bartholomew saying any updates on tokens? We're actually setting the release date as we speak because we have we know that they are coming in soon. And the thunder you're hearing in the background again is pallets and those kinds of things because
Storming here in Tulsa.
You know, you wish you had a dedicated streaming studio, but instead you have a tiny room off of the main space
With
that is
improper venting.
kind of a warehouse.
It's loud out
space.
there. We have to shut the door. I can already feel my temperature going up. It's warm in here.
Keep talking
Talk
about
all these
gardens,
ice cards.
temperature's
Just like
Is this Glacial Footsteps? It is. I am in love with this art so much.
yeah. It's
I
just
want that playmat. I don't.
giant
I don't care.
and wild creatures. It's crazy.
Did you ever see that? You don't play video games. It's weird. It's the one thing you don't do that is strange. You do golf, but you don't play video games. It's like, what is happening? This reminds me of that Colossus game or whatever it was. And I love the idea that there's just big things out
played
there.
Colossus.
Or is something Rise of the Colossus or...
I'm just kidding. I've never heard of it.
Anyway, there's just
Are there
big
giants?
stuff.
Yeah.
You wander around and there's big stuff in the back. You're like, what is this big thing? And then you go find out.
Have you seen Green Knight yet?
I did. I watched it.
Did you really?
I did. Surprise.
What? Hold on. I need to take a minute. It's not really.
I also watched all the Captain America movies.
I don't believe you at all.
I did watch Green Knight, yes, I
We're
did.
supposed to watch Fargo and Winter Soldier. That's the next
That's right.
appointment viewing for us. Not Argo, Fargo.
That Ben Affleck movie?
Did you have any thoughts or feelings about Green Knight?
You know what I did?
I got in my car afterwards. I was just like, huh.
It is a kind of movie. It's very art. It's not really art house, I guess. It's just. It's just. You know how there's experiences that you have to have, and it's not really about analysis afterwards. You know, where it's not like you can't write a 16-page. Here's how I felt about this movie and why it was a good cinema experience or whatever. It's just like I'm glad that I felt that and experienced that, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was. I was intrigued the whole time.
I was intrigued the entire time, but I also felt like by the end, there would be this like revelatory moment.
Yeah.
And I think I get the point of the movie.
Well, I did a little research, and Robert helped me with it for sure because he read a lot of the Green Knight and like when he was in school, so like he had more of an exposure to it. As I think if you approach it as an ancient work in the same vein as Beowulf or something else, it's a big long kind of thing in its time, and it's not the same time where we have a nice 2-hour wrapped up ending. You know, it's about court ritual and you know that you can't turn down a game and honor and nobility and knighthood and these kinds of things. So as an exploration of theme, I think it's phenomenal. As a narrative, I mean, you know, it's not, you know, it's not like Fargo or something where it's like, here's how I felt about this movie, but I thought it was quite intriguing.
Yeah, I was fascinated the whole time. This reminded me of the Giants walking randomly.
Yep.
You know, that's why I brought
cool.
this up.
Yeah, super cool.
But the thing I said about it was like I was interested the whole time, but then also the main character was the opposite of compelling for me. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
But like I had zero empathy.
Okay.
Like
Clearly you're not a knight.
He made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And eventually, spoiler, I think the TLDR is that the first noble choice he really makes, as he's looking to be noble, right? He aspires to be better than he is seemingly to me allowing himself to die at the end. Takes off the thing, does the thing. You don't know because they'd leave that open-ended, but it's ultimately he can see the future and how bad it is if he exists. And so he chooses to, because he's like, no, I'm ready now. And he takes off the thing. And it's like, end of movie.
Well, that's kind of a Siddhartha moment, really. It's where he's kind of reached acceptance.
But like up until that point, he's just like, not a character. I wasn't rooting for him.
Yeah,
right?
well, he's supposed to be like us, right? Where it's like, you
But I
want
wanna
to do the
root for
noble,
me.
courageous thing, but you don't stop for the homeless guy who's like, begging for help.
Yeah,
You know?
and he makes all the different, typical night test mistakes from like charity all the way to.
I think by design.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
But it was a weird. For a movie, it's like, huh. That's why it was so fascinating to me. Is like I got to the end, I was like, I mean, I don't know. Usually by the end, I'm rooting for someone.
Yeah, no.
That's not how I felt about that movie.
It's similar to Constructed and Legendary, right? Like, you appreciate it for its limited environment, not for its long-term constructed consequences. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's why we're talking about it.
Glacial
Footsteps,
Footsteps.
let's talk about it.
6 cost, woo, 3 defense, 10 attack. I haven't even seen this card. It's a common, so we're going to see a lot of it. Ice Fusion, you know the drill. If Glacial Footsteps was fused, it gains Dominate. So 6 for 10.
It's just a Dominate 10.
That's a 4-card hand. You can only give it Dominate if you have this in Arsenal or have resources floating somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to use 2 cards to pitch.
Pitch 2.
Play this
Play
card.
this. Reveal 1 from hand.
Card. So it's a 4-card
It's a 4-card hand. That's playable.
That's a 3 block for me. Dog. That's the blue one. Comes in for 8 with Dominate and blocks for 3. That's a good card for sealed.
Right. That's a good card for Constructed. I mean, all you Guardian players look for is it blue and does it block for 3? And then you put all those cards in a big pile.
And then you win.
You win the game.
Yeah, that's exactly like it. Oh, there's the yellow version.
Yeah.
There's the blue
got
version
the
that we
blue
all
version.
knew was coming.
Yeah.
Okay. We get Mulch. Gardening today. 4 cost attack, 8 damage, 3 block. It's a common, so we're going to see a lot of this as well. Earth Fusion. If Mulch, Elemental Guardian action, so it is elemental. If Mulch was fused, it gains. If this hits a hero, put a card from their arsenal on the bottom of their deck.
Yeah, so what we're seeing is kind of a mix of things, right? It seems like Ice, obviously, is all about the frostbite and the controlling effects. It seems like Earth is about putting cards on bottom of deck, like planting them in the soil or on the top, maybe.
Okay, I like that.
You know what I mean? So if you want to play the Earth Elemental path, I think it's kind of like Prism with Auras versus Heralds. You're going to play a little bit of everything, but if you go heavier Earth, now you get the defense reaction on Oldhim that is putting cards under, putting on top of deck, and you get Mulch versus that Dominate 10 attack or that like Frostbite token stuff. Or
I'm really excited. So as far as I know, what I want to do once the set actually comes out, we're going to play a lot of sealed. And to look at those things where it's like, even just the various elements and what they're bringing to the table, but specifically inside of a certain character. It's like with Oldhim, it's cool. It's like if you're leaning Earth, here's what it means. And if you're leaning Ice, here's what it means. And you don't know until you get into the game with someone.
And I think all of them are doing the same thing, right? Lexi can lean Lightning or Ice, and then the other one can lean...
and people might try to hit the balance, right?
Yeah.
But like your draft pool, as an example, might, or your sealed pool, might be all Ice.
Yeah.
You don't get the choice, really.
Yeah.
So,
You start getting all the Ice cards, and then at the end, you're like, I'm going to get the Lexi cards, and now I'm going to get the Oldhim cards.
so for comparison too, this is like I think about Disable from the original Guardian package, 5 for 7. That does a similar effect. If it deals at least 4, they put a card on the bottom of their deck.
Mm-hmm.
So Bravo focused on those crush damage effects, whereas Elemental focused on fusion.
Yeah.
So it costs a little bit less, but you have to reveal a card, right, to get this to happen. And the math on this checks. It's so good with the tectonic plating. Once this is a 3-coster.
Oh, that Sarge token?
Yeah, the Sarge token on these 4-costers are going to be...
So you give up the crush, but you gain the fusion stuff. That is fascinating.
Well, and it's not about the hit effect and it hitting. It's about you having cards in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the opposite side of the spectrum, whereas Bravo just in his abilities dominate, right? It's printed on his card. So you should be able to guarantee hit effects easier. Whereas these effects are based on you not blocking. Because you're going to have those cards in your hand.
Yeah.
So it's going to play totally different than
It's a
Bravo
classic
on that
no
scale.
blocky there. Yeah. And yet your main ability is a defense reaction on your character. I mean, it's just,
It's just right there.
It's just right.
Also, Mulch blue. Okay.
See,
it's blue. It blocks for 3. It's a 6. It's good against
What
Prism.
did I say about Guardian players? You scroll down to the blue. You say, is it 3
It's so
defense?
good. It
Is it
hurts.
blue? Is it maybe playable
It's so
in a
good.
world where I might actually play a card?
Mulch blue,
It's
dude.
in the deck.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's just fundamental good.
Yeah.
I love it. Now,
I
hold
just
on.
don't think
Hold
I
on a
can beat
second.
Bravo
Hold on a
with
second.
Azalea. What's up?
Mulch, Earth Fusion. As it goes to play Mulch, you may reveal an Earth card from your hand. An Earth card. Does Earth have to be in the type line, or does it have to say Earth Fusion on it? Like, what makes it an Earth card?
It'll say Earth.
Like on
Down
the
on
bottom?
the bottom, I think. I think it says on the bottom. We'll get to the Earth cards and look at it.
That's another interesting part of this.
Yeah.
There's only so many
Unless,
of those.
is this an Earth card?
That's what I'm wondering. Because like if we look back at Glacial Footsteps, it says Ice Fusion, but it doesn't say ice on the bottom.
It has to say Earth on the bottom.
Okay.
According to the chat there.
So you get another balance, which is you're going to want the cards that want to be fused and also the resources to fuse them.
Yeah. And then what we actually know is going to happen, it doesn't matter because you're just going to swing the stupid hammer or whatever and just move on.
This is one of my favorite pieces of art in Fab.
It's appropriately moody for you.
Emerging Avalanche.
Oof. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's like black and white, mountaintop, giant on the top, someone on the top. I don't know.
Is that now technically a higher mountain? Does he count? If he's Earth fused, is he now Everest is 22-8? Yeah.
Okay, 2 cost red, blocks for 3. It's an aura. I like seeing the aura's back. Elemental Guardian action, Ice Fusion. Of course, go again. When Emerging Avalanche enters the arena, if it was fused, create a Frostbite token under target hero's control.
Okay, this is a way to do it.
At the beginning of your action phase, destroy Emerging Avalanche. The next attack action card you play this turn gains +3.
Ooh, so they get a Frostbite, you play it, they get a Frostbite, and then it comes back around, you get +3.
That's right. That's amazing.
That's an incredible card.
Let's see.
Just say no more. That's
and the yellow and the blue is just +2/+1.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Does it have 3 defense blue? Okay.
So again, though, it is incredible. If it was fused, though, so you always get the +3.
Mm-hmm.
2 for +3 next round. We've seen this with like Emerging Power, I think is the name of the card.
Mm-hmm.
Except for it's only Guardian.
That your next Guardian attack.
This says attack action. So like this pumps Command and Conquer, this pumps Scar for a Scar.
You're going to play that blue, pump that Command and Conquer.
Yeah. So, yeah, the blue is great with Command and Conquer, of course. But again, if you're paying 2, you have 1 floating, you still have to reveal the ice card to get that bonus ability. But presumably if there are 1-cost ice cards, it just fits right in there.
Or you're going to play those potions. Is it time to play the potions?
That's true.
We playing potions.
I go back and forth.
Or is there a piece of equipment? You never know, because sometimes you get YOLO'd into the vestige of soul, and then all of a sudden everything you thought was true is no longer the case. You're making money in weird ways you didn't anticipate.
One piece of equipment can change the math on all this.
Where it could be like discard a Frostbite token from your opponent, gain 2 resources.
This next card's art looks like it's Strength of Sequoia. This looks like modern day versions of the Middle Earth CCG art.
It absolutely does.
It's got whatever that color palette is happening here.
Old pastels, clay art. Strength of Sequoia. So Sequoia, who is Sequoia? Is that the type of tree? Are these the trees that we know and love here in the States?
Surely. There's a giant tree behind her.
So they have Sequoias in Wraith? Well, that's hard to believe.
Well, is Wraith not just a future of us?
Maybe it is.
Or a past.
In far,
Long
far
time
away.
ago in a yesterday day. Strength Sequoia, 2 cost. Elemental Guardian action or a 3-block Earth Fusion. So this is not the ice, but the earth. Go again, and when Strength Sequoia enters the arena, if it's fused, create a Seismic Surge token. We're going to start stacks on stacks, you know. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy Strength Sequoia, then the next attack action plays gets +3.
Okay, I like this template of cards.
Ice, Frostbite, Earth, Seismic.
I like this a lot.
That's what I'm reading so far.
Yeah.
So Bravo's leaning Earth.
Earth, Seismic, and discard so far, or like discard in quotation marks. Because what was the other card that happened? Not Mangle, but the one that puts the arsenal down. So it seems like the Earth stuff is doing the.
It was Mulch, right?
Yeah, arsenal control kind of stuff.
Interesting. That's cool.
And Seismics.
Also, from a designer perspective, how easy does this make life? It's like, let's do a 2 that pumps for 3, right? And that's standard. That's the Guardian card.
They really solved.
And then it's like, hey, all right, we're gonna add this fusion mechanic. It's like, what do you get for this extra cost that you're doing? It's like, all right, well, if you fuse A, this is the type of thing you do, and if you fuse B, this is the type of thing you do. And it's like the cards make themselves. It's crazy.
I know, it's great. It's great.
It's like systematized game design. It's crazy.
I know. Yeah, they figured it out. It's probably in terms of design, like card design is one of the great innovations that's happened. Honestly, somehow we've been tricked to like care a lot about cards that are all very similar. Yeah. Because they just feel so different when you play them, when you look at them.
But they both mechanically and thematically, those little switches that get pulled change everything.
And that's called having a really well-balanced game. That's how you do it. Is you don't just have some guy be like,
how does it feel?
What if it was 16 attack, but they had to have 3 cards in their discard pile that said lunging?
What? Better yet, what if you had 7 Jedi Masters on the table and you automatically win the game?
Yeah. Let's test that. It's like, well, that doesn't happen very often, so that's probably fine.
It's thematic, though. Okay, let's move along. We're going to the Ranger class-specific cards. This is Lexi Livewire. She was previewed a couple weeks back. Essence of Ice and Lightning.
Okay.
Which Ranger and Ice, I assume, is not your least favorite pairing.
I like it.
Once per turn action, turn a face-down card in your arsenal face up. If it's a Lightning card, your next attack this turn gains go again.
Yeah, of course.
If it's an Ice card, create a Frostbite token under target hero's control.
You gotta love that.
So are you an Ice or a Lightning lean?
Ice.
Yeah, definitely Ice.
Yeah.
Go again on tap, though. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's really good, man. I mean, it's really good. It's hard for me to even, like I said, think about this. But it's very good. It's very good.
Let's look at her weapon. It's called Shiver.
Yeah, it's Ice.
This in cold foil is going to be...
Do you think there's going to be a lightning bow as well? Do we have card slots for that or whatever? Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
okay, we got one.
We do. Let's look at the common bow, which is Ice. So Lightning will be the fancier build. Once per turn instant, 1 resource. You may put an arrow card from your hand face up into an empty arsenal zone you control.
Now, keep in mind, that's an instant. So, in a world where weird things can happen, where it's like suddenly I'm just going to put a card in that you were going to discard with Pummel, or that you were going to get out of my hand somehow, or things that trigger off of something being in my arsenal now or suddenly get like there's a million different ways to break instants, as you well know.
Yeah, the timing of that can be.
Yeah.
And then you can choose one. It gains +1 until the end of turn. It gains Dominate till the end of turn.
Yeah, that's just a way easier way to do that.
Yeah, but now this is Elemental Ranger, so you can't play it with Azalea, but you can play it with Lexi, of course.
Yeah. Well, it's basically equivalent to you have to, reveal the top card of your deck and put it in face up, essentially randomly, and maybe it will have Dominate. It's essentially the same thing. It just costs you one.
I mean, so comparing Lexi's ability to Azalea's, once per turn you can turn a card already down up. Mm-hmm. And then either gain and go again or a Frostbite token, which is good, but like Azalea's ability to filter the arsenal.
It's free Dominate, baby.
It's either free
and
Dominate,
it's filtering, yeah.
Or you put a defense reaction, didn't use it, okay, now I can get a playable card.
Very different. They're very different. Yeah. I just like to be old man on the mountain.
All right, then we get Voltaire, Strike Twice.
Voltaire. Have you read Voltaire before?
Voltaire.
I mean, it's kind of a...
Voltaire makes sense because Volt,
yeah.
Lightning, I'm with it.
It's kind of a famous...
I haven't. What is it?
Yeah, it's a famous
Shakespeare?
work. Yeah.
Who wrote it?
I think Shakespeare.
Really? I was totally kidding.
Isn't Voltaire in something? We're the English majors. Voltaire is very famous.
I will say I wasn't an English major, but I did really love Shakespeare.
Yeah, good.
We got to
Shakespeare's phenomenal.
And I was like, this is amazing.
It's phenomenal.
Two thumbs up.
Voltaire. Yeah.
A philosopher. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but,
Everyone's a philosopher, though.
Yeah, who isn't, right?
All right, let's look at it. Twice per turn instant. Double the fun.
I'm just here to make Adam mad.
Twice per turn instant, costs a resource. You may put an arrow card from your hand face up into an empty...
I just like trolling the stream sometimes. This is super fun.
You may put an arrow card from your hand face up, and I'm just trying to get through the card, into an empty arsenal zone you control. If you do, choose one. It gains +1 till the end of turn. It gains go again till the end. Okay, so this makes sense. The Ice version, just like with Lexi, the Ice ability gave you Dominate. The
or +1, yeah.
Lightning ability gave you go again. Both of these arrows as an instant, you put a card face up and it gets +1 to the end of turn.
But Voltaire can do it twice. And I think other bow can only do it once, right?
Yeah, it can do it twice and it can give the first one go again.
Yeah.
So it's wide and tall.
Yeah, pretty good.
It's
just right
it's
there.
a tale as old as time.
It's right there
in the Ranger, right?
Yeah,
you either are going
you shoot a big arrow poorly or a lot of arrows poorly. What's Frostlight going to here? Now that sounds like the words that I would be interested in.
Frostlight, it looks like the guy I liked, but unable to do anything. Is
that something with wings?
I can't tell. It won't let me zoom in.
Did we just freeze the giant that was on top of the mountain?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, cool.
So this is a Majestic. It's blue, 1 cost, blocks for 3. Blue blocks for 3. Ranger card, Elemental Ranger.
Wow, that's unusual.
It's an arrow, so you can only play it from Arsenal, of course. 3 attack, Ice Fusion. Cards and activated abilities cost opposing heroes an additional resource this turn.
Straight up, just right there. Didn't you have to hit
immediately? Now, does that resolve as soon as you play it? I have no idea on that.
Yeah, so you announce the card, you pay the cost, it becomes layer 1 on the chain. All that really means, man, it's way more confusing when you talk about it.
But like if you play,
I'm going to play Frostlock. I pitch the card. It's now floating here. Now we both have to pass before this text actually resolves and becomes active.
Right, but that is played and resolved before I get to block.
Correct, 100%.
and way before I get to react.
Yeah, all you can do is instance at that point.
A year before I get to.
Yeah, yours. Yeah, you're reacting.
But you can
1,000
use
years.
instant abilities immediately without them costing 1 extra.
That's correct.
You play it. There's an instant window.
Yes.
Stacks up. Resolves.
Stacky,
We're out of
resolve, last in, first out, last in, in, first out, that kind of thing.
If Frostlock was fused, it gains +1, so now it's a 4. So,
yeah, that's the right number.
And if this hits a hero until the end of their next turn, they can't pitch or play cards with a base cost of 0.
Yeah, great. Love it. Honestly, it seems like Monarch was obsessed with yellows, did it not?
At least the light side of things, yeah.
I think blue is like the ice color, right? So they're like exploring interesting blues. I'm telling you, man.
Right there in the lobby. That would make
Pretty
you
soon
think...
we'll have greens.
That would make you think they could have gone ice blue, lightning yellow, fire red.
Everything points to fire.
But then we got earth. Where is fire?
Where's the green?
But you know what? I'll tell you this. Like I said earlier, I'm just along for the ride and I'm loving it.
Yeah, bring it on.
Which is, there will be fire. And it will be glorious. Whenever Legend Story decides to deliver on that,
yeah, there will be fire.
There will be fire.
Yeah.
Put it into my Twitter bio. There will be fire. Okay, let's carry on. Light it up. Yellow.
That card
lightning.
is good.
Again, that actually so checks out. It hurts.
I know. Where's the fire?
Where's the red? Okay, light it up. Cost 1. It's an arrow. 4 attack, 3 defense. Lexi specialization. So, Lexi only.
So does she like lightning then? Maybe she's just kind of dabbling
her
in ice.
nickname is Livewire.
Yeah, so she likes ice or lightning.
Yes. Lightning fusion. If lighted up was fused, it gains. If this hits a hero, deal the damage to them for each equipment they control.
That's incredible.
So they have armor sticking around, and all of a sudden...
Another pro Azalea point, she would not have much equipment because it all has blade break. So you can break all of your equipment early so that Livewire doesn't do a lot of damage to you.
If it deals damage to a hero equal to or greater than the number of equipment they control lose and cannot gain activated abilities until the end of their next turn.
Yeah, that's cool. So she basically sparks you up.
Yeah.
So, Guardian gets... You know what I'm saying? And, you're going to pump... They love the idea of Ranger pumping arrows, even though I hate it personally as in play. I think that's kind of the whole thing, so it's going to easily do more damage than it has, like, base attack.
Yeah.
Potentially.
That art also looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal.
All right, now we get to some reds. This is a Majestic Ice Storm. Elemental Ranger action. This is not an arrow. It costs 0. Blocks for 2. Of course, Ice and Lightning Fusion.
Because she's quick, see?
Yeah, you see? She can't get hit.
Quick. She doesn't have
Who needs
a lot of
defense
armor.
when you can't get hit?
She needs to move around.
Your next arrow attack this turn gains +3, so 0 for 3 with go again. Straight up. If it was fused, so now it's ice and lightning, so you need to do both to fuse it. Your next arrow attack this turn gains. If this hits a hero, deal 1 damage to them. And whenever this attack deals damage to a hero, create that many frostbite tokens under their control.
Ooh. You know, this whole idea of how many frostbite tokens? What, 2?
I think Lexi's fine with ice.
I think 2 is the number. I think going for more than 2, you've already shut it down already. I mean, you shut it down more.
Yeah.
You think about it and you're like, let's get like 6 frostbite tokens. It's like, I don't think so. It's just like the same thing with arrow effects, right? It's like, I'll stack these arrow effects. And it's like 1 is enough.
Remorseless and Red and Ledger hitting on the same turn is irrelevant.
They just block the second one because their cards are worthless. So like you hit them with Ice Storm, like, I'm gonna hit them again. Yeah. It's like they just block. So yeah, I think 1 to 2 frostbite tokens is probably reasonable to assume.
I assume 2 is the number. It depends. If you have Dominate, it's crazy because you can just stack up 4 or 5. And then they just literally do nothing.
It's essentially like Red in the Ledger or anything else, where it's just like they just don't really get a turn.
Yeah, which is fine.
Good. This is better than that because they don't get a turn for any reason. It's not like they need to do multiple actions.
Choice, right?
They have.
But once I'm looking at this and like you can maybe give me 7 frostbite tokens, I'm dumping my hand.
Yeah, definitely. So that needs to be the last thing you do.
But if you have Dominate, which you have the ability to get with your various arrows, right? Or with her ability. Yeah. If you do have Dominate and you pump for 3 and do your whole thing, then like that could be awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of frostbite tokens. Yeah. And Old Viscera maybe can't even get around it.
Yeah, that's right. There's a good reason to stack them.
There's a way to do it.
And it looks awesome. That's a great looking card.
Yeah, it does look great, doesn't it?
All right, carrying on. Snapshot. This is a rare. 0 cost arrow. We got blocks for 3, of course. Lightning fusion. If Snapshot was fused, you may activate abilities of bows you control an additional time this turn as though they were an instant.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to get out the abacus and the spreadsheet and actually figure out how all these instants are gonna make things good. But obviously they are.
Yeah, I mean, is it bows? Yeah.
There's so much to try to take in right now with all the instance and the bow and the ability of the character and all of that. You can imagine that it's going to be a lot of lightning is going to be doing a lot of instant speed things.
Yeah, I mean, I feel
doing
like
1 and 2 damage and like
the
shocking.
Voltaire bow, right? The ability to give go again.
Yeah,
a lot. And
yeah.
even just +1 would be fine, but like the ability to load and give go again, you could see some. Except this is a 0 cost arrow.
0 4 red. That's a template.
It's prepared to go super wide.
Yeah, that's it.
So we get yellow. We get the blue version of Snapshot. That's all.
Apparently, this confirms. Scroll up to that thing. Apparently, it confirms one-handed bows, but I'm trying to figure out why.
Still looks two-handed to me. Like a two-handed bow is.
Oh, it says bows you control, not a bow that you control. But they're just clean on their language, honestly. Because it's saying bows, in the same way they said arsenal zones, and now we have 2 of those. Yeah. People would assume maybe multiple bows could be used. 2 hand crossbows, pow, 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 that kind of thing.
Huh. A one-handed bow is interesting. It's like a gun.
It's like, what's the sound of one hand clapping?
Is it?
Is this?
Something about a tree in the forest?
That's an old Simpsons joke. Buzzbolt.
Buzzbolt, 1 cost, 5 damage arrow, 1 for 5, blocks for 3, lightning fusion if it was fused. Whenever an attack hits a hero this turn, it deals 1 damage to them. So if you're going to go wide, that seems pretty alright.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I just had to calculate that. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking this fusion is interesting because I'm thinking about the Azalea Death Dealer sequencing currently. And a lot of the time, you end up with that, well, pretty much all the time, you end up with that extra card anyway. Like if you start with 2 cards in hand, you pitch 1, you put the arrow in Death Dealer, you now draw a card and it's sitting here. So now this arrow has a card to reference for fusion. But similar to like your standard Azalea consistency issues and wanting to know the cards that are coming through the top of your deck, you need to make sure this card is the card you need to fuse. So it's playing a similar kind of game with Death Dealer, but you also don't necessarily want to use Death Dealer. But Death Dealer gives you the extra card to make fusion easier. But the bows make fusion stronger, technically, the existing elemental bows. So it's cool that if you just play with the same concepts, you still have these advantages from the older stuff that works with Classic Ranger, but you also have the new elemental options, and you have to figure out, like, it's like Dory, Dory axes, or taking one of the older weapons like the club and using it with Levia. There's so much potential here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's true because you can play Death Dealer with Lexi.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't do the other way around with Azalea.
But you absolutely cannot.
Brandon Power says, you guys aren't worried about Lexi being too powerful?
No.
Not currently?
No. I mean, never have I worried. I've worried about that once, and it just has never panned out. So, like...
You remember when everyone was losing their mind about Valiant Dynamo? And then I did my calculus?
You did, and actually proved to be the case. But we don't talk about that. Because we're an old married couple, and we never acknowledge each other's rightness.
When we're correct.
You have an axis, and they're just playing within the field. They're just not going outside into, I'm a random designer who has a random idea for this crazy effect. Let's write it down and test it. And then your beta testers are like, that seemed okay. And then it goes out into the public, and then it's like, who wrote this? This is so strong because these 3 cards made it work. Yeah. So they're just not playing outside of fundamentals. So something to be truly broken gets extremely difficult whenever it's so objective the way that they're designing this game. So no, I'm not worried about it at all.
Yeah, and I think
literally none.
One of the weird pressure points with Lexi is because her ability, you have to load something into one of your arsenal slots, presuming you have 2, face up, and then the arrows you flip things in your arsenal.
Yeah.
And also to fuse, you have to show from hand.
Yeah.
So and you don't get to draw a card off of this new bow.
Yeah, and there's a lot of weird stuff. And there's the classic arrows generally say if it was put face up into your arsenal, not if it is face up in your arsenal. So flipping those old arrows doesn't activate their abilities like Headshot or Ridge Rider, those kinds of things. So it's like it's already planned how the classic Ranger Classic Azalea has a different play style of putting things in face up as compared to Lexi, which seems to be more about flipping things face up that are already there.
Yeah, so both the Shiver and Voltaire put a card from hand face up in arsenal.
Great.
And
her ability is the one that flips things
her
up?
ability is the one that flips. So
that's fascinating.
That's where, if you are with her on Death Dealer, you get that card a lot to put. You have that spare arsenal card a lot.
Yeah.
And it's sitting there. But previously, you have the old Under the Sea bucket.
Yeah.
that you want to use to flip your arsenal card. And opt, right? But opting is less important.
You're talking about the scuba suit, cross wrap. Crunch wrap supreme itself, yeah.
What is that called? I don't even know. Cross wrap?
Skullbone cross wrap.
There it is.
Yeah, that's it. Under the sea.
So you can't use
Suit.
that and her ability, right?
Yeah.
You can't. She can use the helmet, but you can't get both these effects going.
That's right.
Now, if you have two arsenals, it's easier to flip one up, use the helmet, flip one up with her ability.
That's true.
Then use a card, load a card, use a card, load a card, and you get this crazy stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
But still, it's like to reveal a card, you have to have a card in arsenal. To load a card face up, to fuse those same cards, you have to have so many of the. You already struggled, right? Getting arrows in arsenal and shooting.
I've never struggled with Azalea in my life. I don't know what you're talking about. I think was smooth as butter from day one.
I think Azalea is another language for struggle. It's just built in. Anyways, back to Buzzbolt. Let's just keep it going.
Yeah, we already read it. It's done.
There's 3 versions of it. Okay. Oh my goodness, this art looks awesome too. That's the ranger I need.
Is he shooting that arrow or catching that arrow?
I think he's turning it to ice.
Okay.
Before he loads it.
It's interesting. He got gloves on, It's you would think if you could fuse things to ice, you probably didn't need gloves.
I mean, he might still get cold. Or he doesn't want his hands to get calloused, when he's climbing.
I'm so cold.
Chilling Ice Vein.
Let me make this
It's
ice
a common. 1 for 5, blocking for 3, Ice Fusion. If Chilling Ice Vein is fused, whenever an attack does damage to a hero this turn, they discard a card unless they pay a resource.
I mean, I love this more than I love most things.
Yeah, because if you're looking at it, it's if I'm going to have to pitch it anyway, I may as well block.
That's right.
But then you dominate this thing, and it's really annoying.
You dominate it, even though Azalea can't play it. But in a world but you do have the ability to flip up and dominate.
Voltaire. No. What's the ice bow called?
Like I said, Vegas.
I got Voltaire in my brain.
Vegas,
in my brain.
I'm not even gonna consider new Ranger cards.
You have one of the bows that can give dominate.
That's right.
Strictly. So this card in that deck, and it's the ice bow, so it makes sense. Checks out.
I think Shiver's probably going to be the.
That's it. That's the name.
Do dominate freezy arrows and make their turns bad, and do that until they die.
And then ice is or lightning is going to be 100 attacks.
Do 6,000 instants and ping.
All the damage you can.
That's right.
All right, Frazzle, one
Boy,
cost 5 damage.
World of Warcraft art, it's crazy. That looks really so does. Blizzard to me. It's
3
insane.
blocks, lightning fusion. If Frazzle is fused, whenever an attack would deal damage this turn, instead it deals that much damage +1.
Yeah,
a lot of those kind of effects.
Yeah, great. So we got the wide card, we got the tall cards. There we go.
Yeah,
we nailed it. Who's up next? Man, that gallery is still very empty.
It is very empty.
There's still a lot.
I'm scrolling through a lot of unknowns
of things here.
Yeah.
You know what's cool about this?
My goodness.
The going tall situation of ice. It really is just fundamentally worth doing with those ice effects. You're not relying on your arrow effects necessarily. Right now with Azalea, do you care about Sleep Dart? No. Well, then going tall with Sleep Dart doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But everybody has to care about ice effects, unless you're literally planning to pay nothing for anything ever. So it's just this fundamentally making that template work.
Sometimes against Ranger, the strategy is block
everything.
And then
But hey, if you got to pay 4 to swing the hammer, I'll take it.
But the frostbites go away at the end of your turn, or do you have to do something at some point?
They go away at the end of your opponent's turn.
I was gonna say because I guess you could eventually lock them out.
Yeah, you don't want to leave those there.
So 18. You can't ever do anything.
You don't want to leave those there.
Cool.
Yeah. Designers. Right. That's something a designer of a different game would do.
Yeah.
And they would say, oh well, the advantage is over time. They can lock you out, and you'd be like, why?
Why would you ever make it where someone can't play?
Do that? No, they do it turn by turn here. It's very good.
So next, it looks like we're getting generic elemental cards.
Okay.
So, as an example,
stands to reason.
Flash Freeze. It's a majestic, 1 cost, blocks for 2, elemental action, ice and/or lightning fusion.
And/or, it says that on the card?
And/or.
Okay, so we've seen ice and lightning.
And now we've seen and/or.
And/or. They're just logic beasts over there at Legend Story. They're just literally running a spreadsheet, man.
It's like programming. If A, then B, else. Yeah. If Flash Freeze was fused with an ice card, attacks you control this turn gain. When you attack with this, it gains dominate unless the defending hero pays 2 resources.
Now wait a minute. That is just bonkers. Because wait a minute. This is a pump?
It's a 0 cost. It hasn't pumped anything yet.
But it's not something that does anything itself.
Well,
it gives the next thing something.
If it was fused with an ice card, all your attacks this turn gain
all of
dominate
your attacks.
Unless they pay 2 for that attack each time.
And it puts it on the card itself when you target this against
the card gains that, right? If you fuse it with a lightning card, attacks you control this turn gain. If this hits a hero, deal 3 damage to them.
Huh. That's an incredibly interesting card. Wow. There's going to be some... Lightning is going to be crazy. Lightning is going to be like playing against a chain in a lot of ways, where you're just like, let's just see how much they do and try to live.
Because lightning doesn't seem to have like gruesome hit effects, right?
No, it's not. No, it's just numbers. They're throwing numbers at you.
And if all your arrows get from arrow number 1 get +1 damage, from this thing get +3 damage. It's like very quickly. It's like 10 damage ice or lightning arrows.
It's just not scaling up like chain does.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good. So this is like that's really good.
A lot of blank slots. All right. Entwine ice.
Oh. Have you seen the look? Have you looked at this card?
It looks awesome. That's a giant ice fist.
Yeah, I know.
Here's the thing,
what more could you ask, really?
We still have yet to look at any card that has ice, earth, or lightning in the type line. Just so we're aware.
It can't be that then.
Well, I think we might eventually get there.
No, it can't be that. It has to
crazy?
be. It has to say Ice Fusion to be an ice card, surely, right?
I mean, otherwise,
did they announce it?
I don't know how this is gonna work. Let's just continue going.
Hey, I see y'all Kitchen Table TCG in the chat. Hey, you guys are doing great work. I watched a couple of your videos recently. It was very helpful. See ya. Just go shut the stream down.
I was reading this card. Hold on.
All right, what do we got? Ice. Can you read it to me? I can't see it. 1 cost. What's it say?
Yeah, so Ice Fusion. If Entwine Ice was fused, it gains Dominate. 1 cost for 5. That if it's fused is Dominate.
Why do they keep giving us Dominate? We've already decided we don't like it.
Dominate? I mean, it's just...
If it's your last attack to end the game, great. But if that doesn't have a hit effect on it, why do I care about Dominate?
I don't know.
Maybe it will have a hit effect. Like that card we saw, Flash Freeze.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just trying to... I'm going to pause because I need the chat to catch up with us.
Okay.
Is Entwine Ice an ice card? It's got ice in the name.
It's not. Man, the people say it's not. Can you scroll down and see if you can find one?
It's so much work.
Yeah, so you can find one. Meantime, while you're scrolling, let's show the promo. Can we get the first edition promo? Oh my gosh, did you just do that?
Do what?
No, he pulled up. That was a different. I was like, man, Bryce, you just did that so fast. Can we show the Stir the Wild, Church in the Wildwood?
There are cards that say Earth in the type line.
Okay. So this is going to be hard. Fusion is difficult.
Yeah, you're going to have to run a lot of cards to fuel the fusion.
Well, they better do something. Look at that promo, though. My gosh. The real question, would you rather have a bear? What's on the original? Because this is just phenomenal.
There's a wolf on the original.
I'm so glad that this one happened.
I am too.
Because we don't have any input, so it's like they could send us absolute mashed potatoes if they wanted to, but they don't, and that's great.
I will say on Entwine Ice, cheap Dominate if you have pumps, especially in limited, is how you win games.
When you have pumps, or if you can apply hit effects.
That's right. So we'll see if we get any. You get 3 copies of that. The 3 attack blue versions, it doesn't block for 3. You gotta have something else to make that relevant. Otherwise,
it's not what you want. It's not what you want.
Man, some of this art is very vibrant. It's great. Entwine Lightning, 0 cost, 4 attack, 2 blocks. So this is the math of like a scar for a scar. Lightning Fusion. If Entwine Lightning was fused, it gains Gogan.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So it's a beautiful. This is literally scar for a scar, except for the condition changes.
They just keep doing it.
Yeah. It's crazy.
You can't break things if you stay in the stadium. You know what I mean?
Don't move the back row.
Just don't move the back row. That's right.
Yeah.
Let's just go.
Man, this art is crazy. Invigorate. 0 cost, 2 block. The next attack you fuse this turn gets +4 attack.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Finally, a pump worth having. 0 for 4 is the math that a pump has to have. For me at this point.
But you have to play this. You have to play an attack. You have to pump. Or
you have to fuse the attack. Yeah.
But art is just off the chain on that one.
But just the 0 for 2 or 0 for 3, it's like, come on.
I mean, the blue, this is 0 for 2.
That's pretty good.
It's a blue.
Now since it's blue.
Have I mentioned it provides
You are a
three
Guardian
resources?
player. Look at that Frostbite token.
Yeah, Frostbite looking good. Okay.
Hold on. Do we have the Frostbite token? Bryce, can we
I
pull
think
the
so.
Frostbite?
Everyone. This is what my brother, among a lot of things, talks very confidently even when he knows nothing.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I had a few friends like
That's
that.
a skill set that's good for certain things, like selling cars. You know.
Lemons, not lemons, baby. Where are you, Sean? Is Sean watching? Sean's not watching, is he?
So
I hope you're doing well if you are, Sean. I'd like to see you again soon.
I think he is doing well.
Really? You know that for sure?
Well, you know, based on the Book of Many Faces.
Oh, gosh.
He's at least projecting that he's doing well. You know.
Well, aren't we all?
I'm in like a couple chat groups with him. One of them Christ Protocol related with him. So I hear from him more than you would expect.
Good.
Anyways, Pulse of Volthaven. Everyone thought these were going to be new like library location cards. These are the play mats from the various callings.
We got played.
And they're just not. This is a lightning, ice, instant. So it's lightning and ice. And it pitches for, it's red, so it's not going to pitch for a lot. But
wait, this is legendary? Is it legendary rarity or just type?
Legendary type.
That is one of the worst decisions they've made.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Which, in the grand scheme of decisions to make poorly, that's a fine one to make if you're going to like build your character with advantages and disadvantages.
Probably one of the worst, and right under that is the first couple of sets, they didn't have the bubbles, and then they did the bubbles, and sometimes the bubbles mean first edition, and sometimes the circles around the stuff means not.
Yeah.
But
leave
it'll
it to
be consistent.
The collectors can worry about that. They'll figure
they
that
like
out.
that kind of stuff.
But if I'm like a deck builder,
pink strip across the top.
Can you find a different word for only one in your deck that isn't also a rarity?
Yeah, I think you should. Yeah.
I think you could, right?
I mean,
what would you
dictionary is
call
full of the words.
I call it. I don't know. Maybe it's impossible. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
I mean, you just go to the
ancient
thesaurus and type in legendary.
Yeah, or
mystical.
Mythic. What isn't that a rarity? Majestic. There,
Majestic.
you got that.
But mythic would work.
Mythical.
Yeah.
Mythic.
Yeah.
Maybe unique. That'd be interesting.
I mean, limit one of.
Unique keyword would be, or unique instead of legendary. I don't know. Anyway,
unique would have been great. Yeah. Anyways, that's the nittiest pick of picks. You know what I mean? That's not that big.
Pulling out my nittiest picks today.
It's
about halfway
through
the video.
All right, it says your next lightning, ice, or elemental attack this turn gains +4, and it's an instant.
So another. Oh wow!
But it's instant.
No, instant pumps is where it's at.
Okay, let's talk about this.
Why didn't you make this one of?
Next, it's because it's ice lightning. Okay. You really want to pitch it to get the double fusion or to show it. And it's an instant, so you can show it to fuse a card, right? But let's talk about next.
Oh, that's why they do it that way.
So you play an attack, instant window, before it's doing its thing, right?
Is fusing a part of the cost? As an additional cost? Because I'm a rules man now. I've boned up.
As an additional cost.
Boom. Yes, so you do reveal the card before it's going into resolution. So you pay the cost, you announce the card, you pay the cost, you show the card, then you have the windows open up.
But you can, if you instant, and then it says, you're next. Mm-hmm. Is the card you've just played that hasn't resolved yet your next attack?
Absolutely. If it hasn't resolved, it only looks at next card being resolved.
So that's exactly why they did it, right?
Yeah.
This is a perfect fusion card.
Or maybe it will.
Because you fuse.
Maybe that's not right.
Then you pump.
Wait, what is next reference here? Resolved or played? Resolved or announced?
Well, I think this goes down right next to you in the Marvel Champions.
No, because there's actually an answer to this one. There's actually an answer.
It's your next attack, not the next attack you play.
Why is that? So next is only in terms of announcing? I don't know, man. Because...
Well, you've already played that card.
Yeah, does it say the next thing you played?
So you really... you've already played that card this turn, according to Nick Murphy. So you really want to have a non-attack that you fuse to then play the attack that you can still fuse with that card. Well, you need to play that card before that.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is dense.
Yeah. I'm not an element man.
We'll figure that out.
I'm still.
Right, let's go to the next one. Pulse of Eisenloft. So this is Ice City. It's blue, of course. Legendary, one of. It's Ice Earth, defense reaction. 2 cost, 6 defense reaction. Ice, Earth, and elemental cards you have get +1 while defending this turn.
Is this another instant? No, it's a defense reaction?
Yeah, this can't apply to this card itself, right? Does it? Do we know what it applies?
Okay, hold on. A couple things I need to clarify. Anything that references the next X references being played, not being resolved. If that's true, then you announce a card, you pay the cost. At that point, it's played and it becomes a layer.
Yeah.
but it doesn't resolve yet.
So if you identified the next attack that you play, it would not be that one.
It would be the next attack that you play, not the next attack that you resolve. Fine. So this is... Yeah, it references itself.
Well,
yeah.
it does, except for it says action cards, and this is defense reaction.
Okay, so I didn't have to worry about
it. But if you block with...
it's a blue 2 for 6, so just
be happy about it.
I mean, yeah, you don't even need it.
But if you block with an earth card, and then you react with this into it, then it would give the card you blocked with +1.
All right, hold on. We have to say that again. It's not an instant, though. Did you say instant?
So, like, let's say I block with a 3...
Yes, correct.
Then I react in with a 6. Now it's 6 + 3 + 1.
That's correct.
So now it becomes a 10 block.
That's correct. There's no temporal mechanism with this card, not next or previous or anything like that. It's just all of them.
Let's say your chain. Let's say you give Go Again to Command and Conquer somehow, magically, with the various cards.
It's not that magical, Art of War.
Yeah. Well, they have Art of War. They also have the 2-cost shadowy looking thing that...
Seeping
something.
shadows?
Yeah. Anyways.
Are you playing that now?
Yeah. Anyways, if you can defense react with this early, if they're going really wide, then like against Ninja is a good example.
It's essentially Flick Flag, right?
Yeah, but way more.
It's like a big old Flick Flag.
Big old.
It's Big O.
Big O.
And it's slightly worse, but also better because Flick Flag gives them +2 to combo cards.
Yeah.
The next one.
This is +1 to all of your
actions.
But if you're going to pitch to play this, you only have so many of those cards in your hand. So it's probably only ever going to net you like 1 or 2 defense. But really, it's a 2 for 6 that's blue. That is why we've come to this party.
Especially when we've seen so much dominate in the set.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, I'll buy that.
All right, next.
And it's blue, so you can always just,
This card looks awesome. Evergreen. 3 cost, 7 attack, 2 defense. If Evergreen is played from Arsenal, put it on the bottom of your deck when the combat chain closes.
It's beautiful because it's not that great. And it needs to be revealed as a fuse card, and that's really why you're here. But it's essentially a Raging Onslaught with 2 defense instead of 3 defense, and then an ability that only matters if you get to the very end game, which maybe we're going there this meta, maybe we're not.
I think in Sealed, though, it happens.
In Sealed, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's like 2 for 7.
I got my constructor brain on. I told myself I wouldn't do that.
You went right there.
In Sealed is great.
Yeah, in Sealed
anything that's great. On a breakpoint in Sealed, I'm playing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And it's also just good looking.
And it's an Earth card. All right, Autumn's Touch.
All these cards are so good looking.
Earth attack action, attacks for 7, blocks for 3. Cost
it's the 3. Same thing, 3/7/3.
Blank.
So what? That is a Raging Onslaught.
But it's Earth.
But it's Earth, and that's red?
Yep.
3/7/3, Raging Onslaught, boom. But it's an Earth action.
Clean.
I'm telling you, take the template, tweak it a little bit. Love it.
Look at this card. Amulet of Earth. So these are the, at the pre-release, you get cold foil promo amulets, is the participation thing. So,
it's a what thing? A patient thing?
Participation.
Oh.
Yeah, you show
Everybody gets 1?
Everyone gets 2 at random of the 3.
Wow.
Per pre-release.
And you gotta have a bunch of them. You can run 3?
You could, yeah. Earth action item, 0 cost, Go Again, instant. So you play it has Go Again. That's nice. Mm-hmm. It sounds like those potions that take up your whole turn.
Yeah, those are why?
Instant. Destroy Amulet of Earth. Attack action card you control gain +1 attack and +1 defense this turn. Activate this ability only if you have Earth fused this turn.
Okay, hold on. Let me ingest this for a second.
If you Earth fuse, your cards get +1 attack and +1
This
defense.
is just Art of War, but on the table, 0 cost, Go Again. But it's the Art of War ability, +1/+1 on your action cards.
Yep.
But Art of War is only attack action cards, which this is too.
Yes, it's
so this is, you take Art of War, you put this thing on it, and you aim it at Earth.
The trick is, it's relatively more difficult to fuse Earth on defense than on offense, because you have to be able to play a card on your opponent's turn to fuse.
Oh, 100%.
On that turn.
Yeah, 100%. Right? This is like Levia bang your head against the wall territory.
Yeah. But as a +1, if you fuse Earth, you can give all your Earth attacks +1 this round, if that matters.
But wait, isn't Oldhim the guy that fuses Earth on the defense reaction?
He wants to, yeah. It's right there on the card.
There you go.
Yeah. Just blocky.
But do you ever play this, actually?
It's a blue Earth card.
Oh, there it is.
2 reasons right there that you can play as a Go Again for free.
And if you're feeling lucky, you can just play it as well.
Yeah, you sure can.
Okay.
All right, Heart of Ice. This is legendary. We got our first legendary of the day.
Legendary rarity.
Or maybe multiple. Have you seen the other legendaries? We haven't. All right. Heart of Ice. This looks awesome.
So wait, what is the border on this? Is this the equipment border?
That's just the equipment border, yeah.
Okay, there's no special equipment border.
It blocks for 1. ice equipment, so you have to have ice, whatever it is.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's what they look like.
That's just an equipment board. Why don't they put the ice board on it? It's an ice card.
Equipment's equipment, I guess.
We'll never know.
Once per turn action, spend a resource. Cards and activated abilities cost opposing heroes an additional resource this turn.
Okay, so hold the phone here. That can only happen on your turn, and it only lasts for your turn.
Mm-hmm.
So all their defense reactions are a complete waste of time.
Cost an extra resource.
Now that's interesting.
Galvanic, yeah, we have seen other legendaries, but I'm saying we haven't got to them yet on the day.
Now that's interesting.
So it also has Arcane Barrier 1. So like in the old Ranger class, I know you have Arcane Barrier floating on random pieces of equipment.
2.
So you get to Arcane Barrier really quickly.
Yeah.
If you want. And also still get some kind of ability out of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the Arcane Barrier you want is against things that you would want to make their stuff cost more. As an example, against Kano, pay 1 on your turn, all of his stuff costs extra. Because he actually instants out.
So you force him to instant right in that moment before that resolves. If you're gonna if he's gonna do it.
Yeah.
Which means that you can start the turn by doing that, have all of your cards to pitch, and then if he decides to, not that there needed to be a lot of like anti-Kano stuff right now.
But this is an example of where this would come into play.
But so this is absolutely fascinating to me. Especially, you kind of think of it in terms of, wow. So Oldhim has those hit effects from Earth, but then you might want to run Ice so that they don't react out, but then all your Ice cards have Dominate. So defense reactions are the only way to get around Dominate.
But the Ice chest
Heart of
stops that.
Ice, and then, but we haven't seen a lot of like amazing Dominate attacks from him, like the 10 for whatever.
Yeah.
That's just damage though.
But like out of Lexi with Ice.
Now that gets interesting.
She has the hit effects and then you can't react to her. It's like really annoying.
And now you're putting away the tunic.
Yeah. I like slots competing for that tunic. And as a cold foil, this card is going to murder. Just look at that card.
I mean,
it's built for cold foil.
Aren't we just playing with tiny little paintings? Isn't that really what this is about?
Tiny little collectible paintings. All right, channel Lake Frigid. 2-cost blue ice or action or blocks for 3. So it's a blue, blocks for 3. These are all good maths. Ice cards, so you're going to want to have it. Cards and activated abilities cost opposing heroes an additional resource.
I love that so much.
Channel Ice. At the beginning of your end phase, put a flow counter on Channel Lake Frigid, then destroy it unless you put an ice card from your pitch zone on the bottom of your deck for each flow counter on it.
Yeah, so it can only last so long.
But
this card is bonkersly good.
It is majestic, so it should be. One thing that's interesting about it is like, and you hit on it earlier, there comes a point where it's like a Caesar problem.
Salad?
There comes a point where you tax people too much.
Yeah.
So either that becomes unfun, or also you just make it so incapable of playing cards they just block you out.
Yeah, they just wait.
Which
it's hard to hit somebody who's a block of ice.
Yeah.
I mean, even in WoW, if you ice somebody up, you couldn't attack them. So maybe that's the whole idea here. But also, this card is good. Okay?
Yeah. Well, you can okay, so you play this card against Chain. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Right?
Where all things are starting in Vegas.
You play it, don't have to fuse or anything. Cards activated abilities cost opposing heroes an additional resource.
Boom. Done.
So like this alone,
anything that's trying to go wide is done.
It's crazy how much this does to him.
Think about Katsu. Think about Azalea, for goodness sakes.
Anyone
I'm not paying 2 for an arrow. I can barely pay 1 for an arrow.
Yeah. You're on that.
I mean, yeah.
You're on the straight and narrow.
This is like hamstring shot times everything.
Yeah.
Everything forever. So amazing.
Yeah, and then as long as you pitch beginning of your end phase, you put a flow counter on.
Pitched.
And then you put an ice card on the bottom of your deck from your pitch.
Yeah.
So then the second turn, you have to pitch 2 ice cards.
So the first time it comes in, you have to pitch an ice card. Second turn, you have to pitch 2 ice cards. Third turn, you have to pitch 3 ice cards.
Yeah.
But you can't do that.
No. It's probably 1 or 2 turns.
Maybe 2. But if you're pitching ice cards, you're surely not fusing, right?
Unless your deck is loaded in ice cards.
But we don't even have enough, do we?
Well, we're not done yet. Frostfang.
Oh, give me those ice wolves. See,
Ice
people love
action
ice.
attack. 5 damage, 2 block. If Frostfang hits a hero, they discard a card unless they pay 2 resources. How about that?
That's an incredible card. Come on, man.
You send an ice arrow that has go again somehow.
Come on,
this
is
oh yeah, swing with this. Do you want to just take damage and
I
lose
would
cards?
take 1,000 of this card.
Well, you can run 9 of them.
I wouldn't run the blue.
I'd think about it.
It's a 2 cost. That's just a great. I just love this card. I love that card.
All right, next we get another ice card, Weave Ice. 0 cost ice action, 2 block.
Getting into ice.
It has go again. The next ice or elemental attack action card you play this turn gets +3. If it's fused, it gains dominate.
So here we go. I mean, ice is a big dominate-y theme.
Bad hit effects would dominate.
But they're not having as many, at least with Guardian, the hit effects are mainly on the earth cards.
Yeah. It's an interesting
balance.
But
the wolf thing, the Frostfang with that is a great little mini combo there.
And you get 3 different versions of that Weave Ice.
That'd be so good in sealed. If you can string those together, so good.
Some of these, I'm so excited to play sealed this. We get to play this week.
I know.
This Friday, we're playing sealed. It's so good.
Playing seals and hitting the slots.
Winter's Grasp, 2 cost, 6 damage, 3 block, red. That's it.
You're running the yellows and the blues here.
It's an ice card. Side note.
Yeah.
That's the real trick.
But you're not running that in red, right? Traditional fab thinking would have you not run that in red.
If you're playing against Prism a lot, it's a fine red.
That's true. That's true.
I'm so conscious of the 6 blocks at this point.
Prism is just a pain.
Yeah, and then they just run. Is it Triumph? Herald of Triumph.
That -1 one. Yeah, and it's like, why is it always that one?
There's I think the Parable of Humility. Have you seen that one yet?
Time you play a card, it's the -1 one, and I put that 6 out. Like, oh, I'm so clever, and they're like, block
deals 3. How about that? They also have the Parable. I think it's Humility.
Yeah, nobody who's good plays it though.
I don't know, man.
They don't. I'm just telling you, they don't.
Well,
the Prism players will tell you they are not playing Parable of Humility.
All right.
I'm just trying to seed people into that thinking for Vegas because I hate that card.
I hope that's true. Yeah. There's like 8 cards in my deck that hopes that's true.
I looked at him when he was playing, and I was like, so it's not just when I'm defending, it's like they're always -1. Yeah. So I'm at -1 damage for the rest of the game on everything I do.
Unless you waste a turn.
It's like, unless you just blow up 4 attack on nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. So this is what we call a lose-lose in the business.
Right. The opposite of the way Michael Scott likes to work.
Of course.
Yeah, he likes those triple wins. All right, Chill to the Bone, 0 cost, ice action, 2 block. The next time an ice or elemental attack hits a hero this turn, create 3 frostbite tokens.
Now that's what we needed.
A 0 cost, go again, ice action.
Now give you some dominate on that. Chill to the bone, give some dominate, get that dominate attack. Get that chill to the bone, big old thwack with 10.
Yellow creates 2, blue creates 1.
Come on.
The blue version of this is
thank
1
goodness
or 2 frostbites is great.
Thank goodness it blocks for 2. Otherwise, too good.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The math equation remains static, though, doesn't it?
All right, then we get Winter's Bite. It's crazy how uncomplex these cards are. How simple they are.
I'm obsessed with it, man. That's why you can just turn with it forever.
Check this out. Ice action, 0 cost, blocks for 2. Target hero discards a card unless they pay 3 resources. Go again.
Wait, say that again.
Target hero discards a card unless they pay 3 resources.
Not even a set? Just
oh my gosh.
Just card for card. I mean, I love it because basically you're saying I'll ditch a card if you ditch a card.
But them having 1 less card means they can't block with it, of course. And you also know they're going to have 1 less card on offense.
Oh, of course.
You're down a card.
You're down a card. So it's an even trade, but we know that it's not an even trade because you can control when it happens.
Yeah. And it's an ice card.
So it's like Coax of Commotion. It's that kind of math, you know?
And then, of course, the blue is they pay 1.
I mean, that's beautiful because they're losing a card no matter what they do.
That's right.
It's crazy.
Unless they just have floating resources.
This is going to be insane.
Yeah. Amulet of Ice. Go again. Instant. Ice action item. Instant. Destroy Amulet of Ice. Target hero discards a card unless they pay 2 resources.
I like this one a lot better than the Earth
Activate this ability only if you have fused ice.
I like this one a lot better than the blue
that's so good. And it looks incredible.
You're going to have to work for it, though, because ice isn't going to be great out of the box. You're going to have to really think about it and the right balance. You're going to go too heavy in ice and you're not going to do anything. You're going to be like, oh, they can't. And then you're like, but I'm not doing anything. Yeah. So there's going to be a balance.
That's always the control balance, right? Mm-hmm. You can completely stop them from doing what they're doing. But unless that somehow wins you the game, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right, Shock Charmers. This card looks awesome. The vibrancy of this whole set. That's why I liked Aria in the art. It's just like
it's a good Monarch postlude, essentially.
It's like taking a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Shock Charmers blocks for 0. Lightning Equipment Arms. Instant. 2 resources. The next time an attack action card you control hits a hero this turn, it deals 1 damage to them.
There you go. I mean, there's nothing fancy about this, and in reality, it's not a great deal at all.
It's just taking 2 resources you otherwise wouldn't have used and turn it into a damage.
That's right. And turning a 0 into a 1, as we say in the
unless
business.
You get the weird Kano stuff, like Forked Lightning, has the multiple instances of damage.
Yeah, but that broke everything they wanted the game to be.
Well, lightning has all your attacks do a damage if they hit effects.
What's a source?
And so if you had abilities, I don't know if they exist, I haven't seen these, that it's like your attacks, if each instance of that damage gets buffed, you know, you have, like, this does a separate instance of damage.
Yeah, there are some things that if they would take a damage, they take an extra damage, that kind of stuff. I think it can stack up. Yeah, I think these things will stack up.
Nick's saying read Light It Up.
Light it up.
Hold on, let me go back.
Light
Light It Up. All right. If Light It Up was fused, it gains. If this hits a hero, deal 1 damage to them for each equipment they control. If Light It Up deals damage to a hero equal to or greater than the number of equipment they control lose and can't gain, etc., etc.
So if it's going to do 4 damage and they control 4 equipment, you can give it the +1, and now it's doing 5 damage to 4, and so then it activates that ability. There are clever things to do like that. There's like, you know, it's lightning. It's unpredictable.
This reminds me of Vestige of Soul, where I looked at it on the surface and I was like, not that important. And then I played against good Prism decks.
Yeah.
Because it was like, man, you're going to have to do what now to make this actually, and then you see what they're doing, and it's like, I get it.
Yeah, this is super solid.
Plus, it looks great. All right, Channel Thunderstep. Again, lightning yellow, checks out. 1 cost, watch for 3, lightning action aura, go again. Whenever you play an action card, you may pay a resource. If you do, it gains go again.
All right, so wait. Play an action card. That could be an attack action or a non-action. So everything costs an extra, but you can give it go again if you want to. Basically, you can pay 1 for go again on anything.
Seems good.
Yeah, on its face, that is something that I would take.
You know, as an example, this is out, and you have Tome of Fandel in Arsenal. It's like,
play
Tome, pay 1.
Oh my gosh.
It has go again, you know?
That's pretty good.
So we've seen, like, Lead the Charge, right? Which is an action, a card that gives you go again on something.
What if you played all of the potions all at once?
Yeah,
like pitch a blue and then play Time Snap, go again, play Time Snap, go again, play Energy Potion, go again.
That's what we needed for those potions. So go again, spending a card to get go again is really interesting to me. Right?
It's horrible.
It's not good.
Yeah.
But this Channel Lightning says, at the beginning of your end phase, put a flow counter on Channel Thunderstep, then destroy it unless you put a lightning card from your pitch zone on the bottom. So you probably get 2 turns where you can give any card you want go again.
Probably get 2 turns.
Yeah. Otherwise, like, you look at like Red Lead the Charge, right? And it would give Command and Conquer go again. And so unless
Lead the Charge is a complete waste of time. We've already decided that. You and I.
Yeah. I'm on the outs for that card.
Yeah, it's gone.
Even though I liked it.
Why would you ever play 1 card just to give it go again?
Yeah. Anyways, so that's interesting to me. I'm curious how effectively you can keep those cards around for multiple turns.
I think it's 1 to 2 turns.
I think you're lucky if it's 3.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to draw.
You're gonna fuse something.
You know, unless you're running all lightning cards somehow.
Maybe. I guess we'll have to play it.
Another lightning card, Weave Lightning, 0 cost, blocks for 2, has Gogan. The next lightning or elemental attack action card you play this turn gets +3. If it's fused, it gains Gogan.
Wasn't there, and isn't the ice version basically like +4, or is that the universal version is +4 or something? But it looks like they're baking in go again to lightning, obviously, and a little more damage control.
And dominate with ice. Yeah, checks out.
It does check out.
3 with the lightnings. Scrolling through, we're getting to the end of the list, and we haven't even looked at the Rune Blade stuff. Shock Striker, 1 cost, 5 damage, lightning, action, attack, blocks for 2, once per turn, instant on the card. Not common to see that on an attack. Shock Striker gains if Shock Striker hits a hero, deal 1 damage to them.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, it's doing everything in the template that you would expect it to do, right?
Weave Ice was +3 and Dominate. Weave Earth was +4.
That's right. And now Shock Striker is the 1/5/2 template, but it's just a 1/5 attack, which is fine. And then if you have the extra, you pitch a blue, you do a 1/5, you have 2 floating. If it hits, you deal a damage depending on what they block with. You can activate it or not.
Yeah. It's cool.
Absolutely love it.
And you go down to the yellow, it's attacking for 4. So that's a good curve.
Those are the numbers we like.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right, then we get Electrify. Lightning action, blocks for 2, has go again, 1 cost. The next time an attack action card hits a hero this turn, it deals 3 damage to them. If Electrify is played from the arsenal, draw a card.
So you know what's fascinating? Like, it's kind of a weird little plunder runny kind of thing.
It's a plunder run that costs 1. You get the 3, but only if it hits. But you auto get the card beforehand.
And you auto get the 3 because you can basically, you're just going to make sure that something hits. You know what they're doing? This is clever, what they're doing here. You want the Dominate from Ice to make these effects better with lightning. But then you're running ice and lightning together.
And then
so now you're less consistent.
But it's also like...
Or, now this doesn't say elemental attack action card. So are we going to see a world where we're bringing in like Demolition Crew and these static like dominate generics overload? You know, we're going to play with generic dominate cards and pair them with lightning buffs and abilities? We could see it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Outlaw, this is correct, saying look at it from a constructed point of view. Setup is going to hate Exude Confidence.
Yeah, Exude Confidence is going to turn off a lot of... It's like they're seeding certain things, you know, where it's like you can't do any of this stuff until you block.
Given Exude Confidence Go Again, which Lightning has the ability to do, is really good.
That makes that card so great.
So, you know, this is an interesting comparison to Plunder Run for me, because a Plunder Run, a card I love, right? Obviously, this costs 1. The upside is you can play it from hand and not draw the card.
Yeah.
So it's a pump for 3 that can always happen. So I like it, I think.
Well,
cost and resources tough.
I mean, you got to play it. We got to play it and find out. But
yeah.
I think it's a nice tweak of the formula.
Yeah,
a Plunder Run.
It's very cool.
I'm tired of seeing that card, so I'd like to see other things besides
You're about to see a whole bunch of it. Amulet of Lightning. This card looks cool.
It's
0
not yellow.
cost.
Doesn't that bother you?
Yeah. It's fine. Go Again. Instant. Destroy Amulet of Lightning. Target attack. Target action card gains Go Again. Action card, not even attack.
Okay.
Activate this ability only be fused lightning.
I mean, that's just, you know, you know what lightning is? Lightning has the potential to be the thing that people figure out to make things crazy. There's so much giving things Go Again that aren't supposed to have Go Again.
But the thing about that that's interesting to me is, as long as you keep card draw in check,
right?
You can. That's the thing with Chain, is that sometimes he has 18 cards in his hand.
That is the problem.
But as long as card draw is difficult to come by, then a million Go Agains just doesn't matter that much.
That's right.
You only need a touch of it.
That's where Lexi's 3 of a kind suddenly is now relevant. Now you can only play them from Arsenal, but you draw 3 cards. But if you can start giving those things Go Again, and then all of a sudden...
Well, if she's using the lightning bow, and it's like load.
Yeah.
It's like...
Chow,
yeah,
power wheels, etc.
What was I going to... There's something else about that. Yeah, I don't know. All right, now we get to the real goods. Rampart of the Ram's Head. It's our first shield. Guardian equipment offhand.
I love shields.
Now, it could have said one-handed.
Yeah, it could have. But then you could have 2 shields.
So you can't run 2 shields?
I assume
is that what offhand
There's
means?
only one offhand.
Let's look at this. Blocks for 0. Whenever you defend with Rampart of the Ram's Head, you may pay a resource. If you do, it gains +1 till the end of turn.
Isn't that weird?
So there's a reason why. As a Guardian player, I saw this and I was like, thank the maker. And it's because Bravo does not like Dash, ever. Because Dash has her plasma pistol or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's right.
She has the plasma purifier. I think it's +1. The plasma something else that gives Go Again.
She has the induction chamber.
There it is, the induction chamber.
The plasma purifier.
So here's what happens.
and the pistol.
They have tokens and all this stuff. All this garbage.
I don't know what it is. It just keeps shooting me.
But what happens is they shoot the gun. They take a steam counter off of this card here. It's usually right here. To give it Go Again, right?
They keep telling me they're doing it, right?
Then the gun hits you for 2. And they maybe pump it for the round before that, but they hit you for 2. They give it Go Again. Then they load the steam counter on the gun. They load it back on this. They shoot you again. They give it Go Again.
They can't give it Go Again twice unless they have a second induction chamber.
They have 3 of those things.
You've played long enough where they have 3 induction chambers?
I'm playing
What have
Bravo.
you been doing your whole game?
They're both fatiguing each other. It's the longest, most obnoxious game in baseball. But this is +1 defense for the round.
Right.
So the first time they shoot, you block for 1. You paid 1. You pitch the blue. You have 2 floating.
Yeah.
Then they have to clear the chain to attack the gun again.
Sure.
So they clear it, it comes back at you. You pay 1, now you're blocking for 2.
Yeah.
Then they clear it, and so unless they're pumping, you take 1 on the first gun, you take none on the second.
That's right.
And then
for 1 card out of hand.
Yeah, and you just keep blocking
Yeah.
it. It's but the trick is you have to have the extra hand. So like right now, there's not a Guardian weapon that Bravo can play one-handed. So we have the Ice Hammer, but Bravo can't play it because he's not elemental, right? So he can play the this thing, the shield.
You can definitely play this, yes.
Yeah, but right now he wouldn't have a weapon. But honestly, I said this to you earlier. I'm not kidding. If I was playing Bravo against Dash and I had to choose between, do I even play a weapon and I play the shield, or do I play my hammer? I ditch the hammer all day long.
You just play the shield.
Yeah, because I've played that game enough to know I don't win.
Yeah, you can't win.
So
I played that game too, and I can't win it either.
I get my chance to win with this card in play.
Luckily, a lot of other things are beating that currently.
Luckily. Yeah.
Lots of them.
Well, yeah, there's a reason.
Chain is the kind of the big.
Yeah.
You can't play the
issue.
long game against that.
You
They
get like
tried,
6
and then
turns.
Flock came
It's
around,
a
and
whole
then
thing.
kind of disappointing.
Yeah. Anyways,
So it's so not out of control. It's just like you get 1 defense off of this shield and it's legendary. I absolutely love it.
yeah, and you know, even as against not dash, if you do have a one-handed hammer, the ability to turn a resource into a block every time, and every time they clear the chain, you're going to do it again.
Yeah.
Makes them like I think about Ninja, right? It's like I pay 1 and block the first Kodachi.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Dang it.
yeah, great. Okay, cool.
But tall stuff, who cares?
yeah, now it does help around
Because
dominate as
Azalea's
well.
aiming at your face, and you don't block it.
It even helps with dominate though, right?
It helps some.
Because I have a 1
block
that I can
1,
put in.
yeah.
And anyway, it's
But you
interesting.
want to throw a card into block 1. That's fine. Yeah, it's ultimately fine.
All right, then we get Rotten Old
The old
Buckler.
rotten old buckler.
It's a Guardian equipment offhand, so it's a shield. that
Seems to
can
be a
run.
limited card, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a common. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, not all.
So you get 1 block in the game.
just a bonus.
It's like
defense.
Spell Void for physical.
Yeah. It's
Straight
great.
up. Fine.
All right, here it is. Terra Sunder. This is the card, and this is why we're here. Majestic blue Guardian blocks for 3. There's the classic curve. Your next Guardian attack this turn gets +1. Dominate. And if this hits a hero, they discard 2 cards. Go again.
Why does this exist?
It's basically
Why is
Crippling
Guardian
Crush
the
on a
best
stick.
class in the world?
You know what I love about this? Beyond it being
What is
ridiculous?
their weakness again? Can somebody tell me
Dash.
Guardian weakness?
Can't beat Dash.
No, not Dash as a hero, but like conceptually. You can block for 18 on your equipment. You can always swing for 6. So what's the... And then if you have cards, you do 15 damage and discard my deck.
Well, here's the
I bet
secret.
you just take it and you throw it out the window.
No. Here's the secret.
That's been my experience so far.
They can't go wide.
As
Step
if,
1.
well, I've been living that life for a year.
So Tim was gracious enough to play as Guardian this weekend against me because I rarely get to play against Guardian. Right?
Yeah.
And there were a couple of turns I was playing Viscera, and sometimes you just draw hands where you don't attack.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, oh god. If he has Crippling Crush, and like if that card in Arsenal is either Crippling Crush or Pummel, it's like this could be game over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he would be like, Surge, swing the hammer, because there's so many blues in that deck.
Yeah.
And the blues are fine. They block for 3. But the craziest thing is sometimes you just stop attacking Bravo. He doesn't do that much.
Yeah. So for Viscera, that's particularly good.
Yeah.
For the other classes that necessarily have to attack to win the game,
Yeah,
maybe not as great.
I don't know what you
maybe
do.
not as great of a downside as we were
Anyways,
considering.
there's not that many downsides. That's why he's good.
Yeah.
You know. Anyways, this card's awesome. It looks awesome. Whoever this hero is, I want this hero.
Yeah, it's great.
Whatever that hammer is, I want that hammer.
This is kind of like your Brute got the Tear Limb from Limb. So maybe there's a Terror template. Terror Sunder is in this template. But it had the random Brute discard and then it doubled the damage.
Instead of just being awesome.
Instead of just discard effects, which are just
how
game
about
breaking.
All right, next
So
up,
good.
we get Embolden. This art looks awesome too. Guardian Aura action. Cost 4. This is expensive. Blocks for 3. When Embolden enters the arena, if you control another non-token aura, draw a card. So we got an aura building.
But you have to get another aura in. Okay. So
Costs
you
4,
make
so-
one aura and then you're like, it's even better. I'm even better than you thought. It's like a Vegeta strategy.
At the beginning of your action phase, destroy Embolden. The next Guardian attack action card you play this turn gets +5.
So it's like a baby, whatever the card that you like or don't like.
Towering Titan.
Yeah.
I loved that card at first, and then I couldn't ever actually use it.
Could you play Towering Titan and then also Embolden to draw a card and then get +16 to your next one or something?
If you somehow had that many resources.
You gotta play the potions and Tunic.
I think it's way more likely. They have a lot of good 2-cost auras. That you would
Two
pitch
blues
2
and
blues
hit 'em.
and play both of those and
get
get
a
to draw a card back
Arsenal
and then get
card.
to swing.
Or swing the hammer. Yeah.
Or swing the
Swing
hammer.
the freaking hammer. Yeah.
You got it. There we are. And we get a yellow and a blue version of this, of course.
Also, chat.
blue is white
Many
you play.
people in chat have mentioned Forge for War. You remember Forge for War?
Yeah, 2 cost to give you all your armor
On the
+1.
shield. Shield's equipment.
You know, Shield's also an equipment for the card earlier. All the stuff that references the number of
Oh
equipment you
yeah, the
control.
Shockies.
Yeah. Even the
Our weapons equipment?
What's the dash card? Magnetic shockwave or something?
Magnetic shockwave.
There's one where she pulls in the equipment, so that's helpful there too.
You know how game breaking that is against Azalea?
It's crushing.
Yeah.
Forces you to block with the stuff. Yeah.
With your tunic and your cross wrap.
Yeah. How about that?
I can't win that match. I will not ever win that.
All right. Next we get Thump. 4 cost, 6 attack, guardian action, blocks for 3. While Thump's attack is greater than its base, it has dominate. And if this hits a hero, they discard a card.
People saying these are overcosted, and that's Guardian's weakness, is they're inefficient. You know what they're talking about? They're inefficient, but they have all the tools to make themselves efficient. I don't understand.
Well, I think they're inefficient from the perspective of, so Crippling Crush, amazing card. Yeah. Costs 7, and it is a card in and of itself. So usually that's going to cost you 4 cards to play. Mm-hmm. If you have a Seismic Surge, it can cost you 3 technically.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you get the tools to make it okay, you know.
But 3 cards even for 11 damage is just ahead of the curve.
Yeah, you would expect it to be 9, about 9.
Yeah, and 4 cards for 11, not good.
Yeah, it's true.
Comparatively.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's what they mean. Now, I'm not saying it's like...
And this is like 2 cards for 6, but you get a discard effect, so that kind of evens the card cost.
If it has greater attack than it started with. So you have to find a way to pump it.
Okay, that's fair.
And at 4, it's fine, because if you pitch 2 blues, you then have 2 remaining for the pump, but that's a 4 full hand. So that's a lot of the challenge of Guardian 2 is that you either are swinging with a hammer for 4/6, or if they put pressure on your hand at all, you can't do the big stuff.
Right on. Yeah, so that's right. Was there everyone talking about Awakening? We're just scrolling down the gallery. There's no method to this.
We'll
so
get there.
If it's a card, we will talk about it. Yeah.
All right, next, this card looks awesome.
It looks
like
great.
a Magali piece to me. New Horizon. Blocks for 2. It's a Ranger equipment headpiece. So you finally get to replace old faithful
I'm not doing
helmet.
it. I'm going underwater too often.
Well, you have a face-up card in your arsenal. You have an additional arsenal zone.
Yeah, okay. That's totally fair.
When New Horizon is destroyed, destroy all cards in your arsenal.
Yeah.
Blade Break 2. So you can block for 2 once. If you do, all your arsenal cards go away.
It's like a better version of Perch Grapplers.
Except for you now are competing for the head slot.
Slightly better.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, it's a totally new template, archetype, et cetera. It's going to take a lot of experimentation, et cetera, et cetera. So
it also just looks phenomenal.
Yeah, it does look great.
5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, bring it on.
Wood print again.
Bring it on.
Here it is. Seek and Destroy. 0 cost. Ranger action. Blocks for 2. Has go in. Your next arrow this turn gets +3. And if this hits a hero at the beginning of their next action phase, they discard all cards in their hand and destroy all cards in their arsenal.
You wish it was at the beginning of their next end phase. At the end of their turn, they discard everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is good. This is kind of, I'm interested in it.
0 for 3.
It's fine. It's blocks for 2. It technically adds up to 5. It's not exactly the most efficient thing, but there's no... Taking away their arsenal slot for the next turn is the most significant thing here. It's great. Love that. I think the value is there. I'm wondering if this opens up like a fatigue strategy in the long term for Ranger, because in the grand scheme of things, what this looks like is, right, Seek and Destroy plus Red in the Ledger, for instance. They can probably only get 1 card out of their hand. Mm-hmm. They discard 3 and they don't get any arsenal, or what's in their arsenal, they get it's gone. So you're probably discarding 3 to 4 cards. This is an entire turn of Flesh and Blood. You get 15.
Yeah.
So like a couple of Seek and Destroys, a lot of blocking, a lot of salvage shots that when they hit, they go to the bottom of the deck.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were talking earlier about every class seems to have this toolkit where they can play a lot of different ways. There may end up being a Ranger defense trap fatigue style deck that Seek and Destroy plays into, which I'd be really into. But otherwise, it's just a generic pump 3, which is fine. And then it gives them a downside of not having an arsenal on their next turn, basically.
Yeah. Which sometimes that's not that great, because if you know you can't arsenal, then you're going to start playing in a very, you're going to play out your hand a little differently, which strikes and gutters, right?
But usually this is going to be on a hit effect where they can't play their hand.
Yeah.
Like they don't have go again, for
instance. You really hope not.
You know what I mean? Where it's like you really want Seek and Destroy Red in the Ledger, where then it's like, oh man. Or, sometimes Seek and Destroy Remorseless, they lose a life every time they play an action card, and it's like, well, they're going to be discarded. I don't get the arsenal. Maybe I'll play them and lose the life anyway. So there's some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. I like that art too. I say looking cool. Got her bow with her hit list there under it. All right, now we get the next one. This guy looks crazy.
Bolton Shot, man.
Bolton Shot. 0 cost, Ranger, action, attack, arrow attack for 4, blocks for 3. While Bolton Shot's attack is greater than its base, it has go again, and if it hits, reload.
Yeah, this is what Pathing Helix wanted to be, and should have been ultimately. And it's an excellent card. I think it will slot in immediately to a good amount of Ranger decks.
Yeah, and you get 3 different copies of it technically.
Yeah. So you're basically, you're looking at probably pump shoot at 5 or 7.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get go again on it, and you're probably going to get a free reload. It opens up some wide strategies, which is really great. I think it's important for this to be in the card pool to have those wider strategies work out.
Yeah. And that's the end of the gallery list.
Yeah, all right, well, let's talk about Awakening. We don't have
What's
it to
Awakening?
pop for it. Search it. I don't remember. I saw it earlier today. It's
I
like...
got you. I'm just going to go to the Discord.
It sounds a lot like the sky is falling Chicken Little stuff to me, because you get this in Flesh and Blood all the time, right? You get this in any game all the time where something happens. It's just like, but my gosh, it's just been so... It's so tight. Why would you doubt it now? I don't understand.
All right, Awakening. Here we go.
Just show people, it's hard to build faith with people. You do this with relationships too, like not just like, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, etc. Friends, etc. It's like, how many times does somebody have to be right before you just believe them?
Yeah. And there's definitely a trust factor there, depending on how often someone around you has been correct.
Yeah. Like Star Wars SE, new card comes out, and it's like, that's probably breaking the game.
Yeah.
Probably breaking the game.
Awakening, Earth Fusion, Majestic, Elemental Guardian Instant. Guardian Instant, that's interesting. 2 cost, it's blue, no block.
Okay, great.
If you have less life than an opposing hero, create Seismic Surge tokens equal to the difference.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a lot.
So you got 16, I've got 20, you make 4 Surges.
Right. If Awakening was fused, instead, create twice that many Seismic Surge tokens, Earth Fusion. So if you fuse it, if you're hit by
8 or whatever.
5, I fuse it with Earth, I create 10 Seismic Surge.
And then they all pop at the start of your turn and -1 to the next attack, right?
Mm-hmm. Search your deck for a Guardian attack action card with a cost less than or equal to the number of Seismic Surge tokens you control. Reveal it and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck.
Yeah.
So end of your turn, I pay for this.
Pitch play.
All the things. Get the attack I want in my hand. My turn. All those pop. Play.
You launch a big attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm only sad I can't play this in Bravo.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that with Crippling Crush?
Isn't that funny? Yeah. I guess. I mean, it's super good. It's obviously a tool that they're going to need to get around ice. I mean, I think a lot of heroes are going to have like ways to reduce costs probably coming down the pipe over time. But yeah, I guess I don't see that card and see like, oh my god,
it's good.
It's a very good card.
Yeah, but you're basically spending 2 cards on your opponent's turn.
You have to have less life.
Yep.
It's got the ice fusion thing or whatever.
Earth fusion. Fusion. That's the 3rd card that have been.
So now you didn't block with 3 cards.
Yeah, now you can Guardian. Play. Let's say you attack and I know you can't attack again. Mm-hmm. There's not really a bad hit effect or whatever. I can choose to take the damage. I have the cards in my hand. Go do this thing.
Sure.
That's really the moment for
and
this.
And it costs 2?
Yeah.
So you can also like pitch a blue, block with the shield, do this thing.
Yeah.
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 Super solid.
I think it's on the curve of what the good cards do, that like the game-changing cards in your deck that aren't just the building blocks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think it will be good.
Yeah.
But what's funny? There's so many of these cards. I did this with Brute when I was going with Leviah and even looking at a Reinhardt build earlier. It's like, you see that blue no block and you're like, man, that has to be really good. In Guardian, a no block card for for a traditional Guardian, that's like, you guys won't even play anything that blocks for less than 3.
Yeah, I mean, if it's blocking for 2, it's got to be like the perfect card for the deck.
Yeah. You still play Plunder in that?
No.
Good.
No, it's gone.
Good. We got you.
The people say, so this could be true too. They're saying that you can fuse with the Earth card and then block with the Earth card. Mm-hmm. But if you need the thing I'm thinking is like, if you swing with an attack that is going to do the damage that separates our health enough for me to do my thing, then I'll reveal it. As long as it's not a nasty hit effect, I don't care. Yeah. It's like, I'll take 6, but I'm going to send back the most nasty attack I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you fuse, so like, how much are you? It's funny because my experience with Guardian is like, there's not usually a huge life total difference.
Yeah.
It's not like usually I'm throwing the kitchen sink at it. It's blocking as much as it can, and then I'm taking 6 in response.
Yeah.
And then we're down, like we're walking down the line together, basically.
Yeah,
so.
Which, the idea of Guardian cards that want you to be behind is a cool change of pace, because a lot of times you're not behind.
Definitely.
You're the health isn't moving very quickly either direction. And so a lot of times too, Guardian games are pretty close.
Yeah.
Like they're creating small little pockets of advantage. So if you do find yourself down, I like comeback mechanics, right? I like the Hail Mary plays. I also like...
It's nice that it's in blue too, so if you're ahead, you can just pitch it, which is good.
I also really like the ability to do what your deck wants you to do. So this letting you go get a big attack and be able to basically afford to play it. Like I think about Showtime as another example. Like you go get it, you're going to have +1 intellect next round. It's very similar. I like decks that do what it's knock for Azalea. It's like you get to go get the arrow and then you swing it in. And so like you'll see that where you basically have Viscera has the same thing, become the Arcanine. It's like they can go get the thing, so they're slightly more consistently doing what they're trying to do. Otherwise, a lot of cards get unplayable very quickly. So
and the thing generally becomes free too.
Yeah,
which is fascinating.
I
wonder if in testing, honestly, like icing up Guardian just was a little bit too much.
Maybe
where they just because it's just so expensive and you need those surge tokens to really make it work. That like they're like, oh man, you just can't break out of the ice lock with Guardian for whatever reason. Maybe you need something.
Well, and because cost increases apply before cost decreases. So technically, too, it's like if you've created 14 surges and you go get a 7 cost, I could have 7 of the ice things on me, frostbites, and still get to play the thing.
Still get to play it, yeah. 7 frostbite would be insane.
I do like that interplay where you can't just know that you've locked them out.
Yeah.
Like you stack up with these things, you're going to create like 8 ice tokens, and then I'm just like, all right, no block.
There's always one out.
Yeah.
It seems like every class has one out from all that nonsense. Yeah. From any nonsense. Everyone's got one.
And there's plenty of spoilers that have gone up. I went to the reveals channel.
We'll get to them next time we stream.
There's just so much stuff. So
let's talk about Vegas.
All right, what do you want to talk about?
Who's going? Who in the chat is going to Vegas? I would like to know. So this is a big event. This is the conclusion of this constructed season.
Yeah, so we basically have Road to Nationals have been happening. Those are over. This is Vegas. It's constructed. Sunday is Monarch Sealed, which I'm excited about if we don't make our dreams come true.
So Sunday Monarch Sealed.
That's right. I mean, I'm just expecting it at this point. But then like next month we have Dallas and Cincinnati, which are sealed Aria.
Yeah.
And the release of Aria and the pre-releases.
Which has to happen because I'm still trying to figure out how to feel about unlimited first edition timelines and those kinds of things. I still think, just based on our experience with logistics from other publishers, that it is very difficult right now to have anything anytime you want it.
Yeah.
So I still don't think the first edition unlimited timeline is something that's a judgment call. I think it's more of a necessity right now. But it is fundamentally the right decision to not have a lot of constructed events where some people will not have access to Aria.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think it was a smart way to structure that.
Just do as much sealed and draft as you can until unlimited hits the scene. Yeah. That's what I would do.
You know, I've seen so many publishers struggle to get one printing of a new set out on a regular basis. Like Destiny never had 4 months.
Yeah.
So then when you throw in dealing with this crazy surge in demand, the pandemic, and then also trying to have 2 things happening, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's a lot to like navigate and make happen. But I don't know when Unlimited is going to happen, but I know that Orlando is in November, and it's Nationals and a calling, and it's constructed. So they seem like they're confident that it'll happen by then.
Otherwise, that would be a heck of a pickle, wouldn't it?
If not, the singles prices on that stuff's going to go through the moon.
Yeah. So buy now.
For the people that are going to that event. A lot of people in the chat
Neutron MTG says, Woo I Am, Puck Grillman is going, Christopher Bates is going, Matt McCree is going, Ryan Roper is going, Z Masters is going for a lot of us, Gruder is going, David Cornwell is going, Adventure Co Gaming is going from Orlando, Nick Murphy will see us there, Templar of Ikaru is going, lives in Vegas, Low V Gaming will be there with a friend, Cowboy Rocksteady will be there, hope to see us, Humongous is there, headed to Vegas. Tanner Brandt is going. Curating Humanism is going. And 50 Shades is going, as is Sebastian Burnham and Tylon Blas.
You guys keep chatting and see how long this is going to go.
I mean, come on. It's a shame that we're all just going to collect.
Well, apparently no one plays.
That's right.
It's weird.
So, hey, I'll be there with Azalea. I'll be trying to surprise anybody by doing better than going 50-50 on my win-loss ratio. That's my goal. I'm trying to get a winning
7
record.
rounds of Swiss. Honestly,
I'm trying to go 4-3.
4-3 is your winning record is success.
4-3 to me is I'm happy. 5-2
Very
is
happy.
I feel pretty good.
6-1 making day 2 is
if I make day 2, I will have felt like I achieved something that is worth achieving. If you get top 8 after day 2, then I'm going to take all of my clothes off and wake up in a fountain in Vegas.
You heard it here. If you want to be there for that, join our texting list. You never know. I might just text and be like, "Hey, Steven made top 8 with Azalea. We're gonna go celebrate." But really, we might text and do something. We'll probably find ourselves. One of my favorite parts of these events, if you're thinking about going to any of these, you play the tournament. It's stressful, right? People are intense, and you don't know.
And you know what happens? That first round, you play that first match, and the first turn or the second turn, you forget to trigger that ability, and then you're just like, I'm just already in the spirit of like frustration and whatnot. Sometimes it happens.
Don't worry about it.
So
just have a good time.
Yeah,
but
water off a duck's back.
One of my favorite things is that you play the tournament, right? And then after that's over, people go out to dinner, they go out to drinks, and like there's nothing like the shared experience of that tournament and preparing for that tournament. And then the results happen.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of people that won't make the day 2.
Mm-hmm.
And they will get to sharing the stories, right? And like what went wrong, what they learned, and what they're going to change for next time, and their testing process and stuff. Then you also have all the people that you know or don't know that made the day 2, and they're excited and celebrating.
They're excited, but they also can't have fun yet.
Right.
They got to stay serious. Yeah. They got to go to bed at 9.
Meanwhile,
They
you got to go have
water.
fun, and then also play the Sealed the next day, which Sealed Monarch on Sunday is going to be maybe the most fun.
It'll be a hoot.
Yeah.
It's essentially the Steam release. You know, it's just like psh.
And then you end the event by getting to watch whoever the top 8 players are at the peak of the game, at the peak of the meta, interacting, and hopefully, I'm very hopeful that we see some fun surprises in terms of like the heroes that are showing up,
8
the cards that they're
8.
playing. I'm kind of with you.
I told you I don't think there's a chain in the top 8.
Here's my prediction.
I'd be willing to bet like at least 20 to 1 on that.
I think there is one chain player makes top 8.
Mm-hmm.
I think one squeaks through.
I do think there may be a dark horse chain build
that isn't just slapping things from the turn one.
Less slapping, more control. Not control-y. Control is such a confused word in this game. Just slower.
Yeah.
I think it goes to 2 or 3 shackles, and I think it sits
You
there.
mean that beat I was on early wasn't so crazy?
I don't think it was crazy at all.
Where I was like, I'm just going to... And he starts laying the bottom of that deck up, and you just survive, and then you just go... Because if you get to like turn 6, and then you start really shackling, because you know the bottom is loaded... If you can survive that long, it's really good. Especially if everyone just thinks you're going to go all out. Anyways, that's the kind of stuff. Who knows? Maybe it's Azalea making the cut. Maybe it's Chain, but totally different. Maybe it's Rhinar. Maybe I'm excited to see it because I know there's a lot of people out there. I've heard from you. I've seen it.
People say they got a Leviathan deck that's simmering too.
I've heard Leviathan. I've heard Kano. Right?
Yeah.
People are like, no one's run Arcane Bear. They aren't respecting it.
You know what's great about Kano is you just are going to either get paired against it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get paired against it, you're going to Monarch Sealed. I mean, that's basically the game right now in Swiss, right?
Yeah.
It's similar. Like, the other thing, too, is, like, every deck has just an awful matchup. Chain's thing is that everybody's playing to beat Chain. So that's problematic, usually, when you're bringing that deck, unless you're really a great pilot.
I think there's less a deck that just beats Chain, and more that every deck is going to be on their best odds against Chain.
They have to. You have to plan for Chain. So that's not Chain's problem. But, you know, if you're playing Azalea, let's say, I don't think I can beat Dash or Bravo going heavy control.
Ever.
I think it might be impossible.
Yeah.
So I just hope I don't get paired with it. And if I hit 3 Bravos in the first 3 games of Swiss, I'm just going to go.
Well, you go play in some side events and you get a drink.
Right? But then everyone in the Swiss is going to be playing that calculus. And Kano is the grand spoiler of that calculus. Where it's like, I don't care who you are. If you don't have Arcane Bear or 2 at least,
you're about to get dunked on.
You're probably going to lose. If you don't have 3, I still might win.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So there's like all these weird little who's getting paired against what and what's going to happen. If I see nothing but Katsu, I'll be great.
Katsu and Chain would be ideal for you.
I'd be great.
That's a big chunk of the meta.
Yeah, but you just roll the dice, right?
I mean, you roll the dice for the odds stack.
And the other thing is, if your first round you play against the matchup that's really bad, but you've teched for like the upper echelon of the meta, then now you're submarining your way on a 0 to 1, and so you're going to hit less of the decks that you prepared to play.
Yeah.
And now you could have a real problem on your hands.
Yeah. Well, and I think with how heavy their tournament system favors strength of schedule, if you lose game 1, you probably don't make it 2.
You think you should just go play Monarch?
It's close.
Okay.
You're gonna play Monarch on Sunday if you don't make it either way, but you should probably
What are the side events that day?
They're happening all day.
Is it Aria stuff?
No.
Okay.
But there's sealed and there's constructed and there's draft side
Okay.
events. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to touch constructed after that. After a Swiss like that.
Yeah.
I would do sealed forever though.
Yeah. That's my plan.
Yeah. So the whole Vegas experience is going to be one of a kind. It's the first time we've gotten to play really serious competitive Flesh and Blood in the States, right? There hasn't been an event this big at the pinnacle of a metagame ever, to my knowledge.
Yeah. Well, this is the first. I think there was actually a calling back in 2019 in the U.S., but since the game has been popular, this is the first major U.S. event, which is going to be exciting, and it's in Vegas. Like, it's just going to be a good time. And then it's obviously there's a pandemic and there's the COVID stuff going on. So like, I'm genuinely curious how many people show up, because one, it's just a statement to people don't play this game, right?
Sure.
Like,
Right.
you have at least 500 people, but even at like 1,000, it would just be like, now we're in unquestionable territory. So I'm just excited to see it. I'm excited to see that many Flesh and Blood players together at the same event. Even going to Dallas for a 60-person event was like super awesome.
Yeah.
Right? So I can only imagine, especially the thing I'm most excited about is the Tales of Aria world premiere. Playing sealed and draft when not everyone knows all the cards, and it's the first time everyone's doing it. That's the dream.
What's up, fundies?
That's literally the dream. That's my favorite way to play a card game.
All right, everyone. Well, any questions? You guys want to talk about anything? We got a few minutes before we get out of here. We'll pop the promo again. Stir the wild winds.
It's wildwood.
There's an old folk song or an old gospel song. Church in the Wildwood, I think it is.
Look at that card, dude.
Yeah, it looks great. Special thanks to Legend Story for
Danny asking who you're playing this week.
making it happen. I'm playing Azalea. Yeah.
You know, I literally this past week I was thinking, I cannot believe I have not been calling her Iggy.
That's true.
It's just right there.
She does have no money, no family.
Or 16 in the middle of Miami.
She is.
That's right. Also, it's a good point, Valentino. It's worth mentioning. If you haven't done so today.
All right.
Hydro Brain.
Got a new ad
Hydro
name.
Life. Water. H2O. HTTPCVE.
We got to work that script a few times before we get on here.
I got the tagline
100%
now.
should be food grade plastic.
That's all people will remember is the tagline. Trust me.
19 water bottles. Man, the USA, you can run them over, technically. I mean, I've done it before.
I've never done that.
I'm not sure that it would always work. I had a harder plastic one back when Jonathan and I ran one over.
We used to have a metal container.
It still worked. I don't do that. Jonathan does that because he likes the security being able to boil water in his water bottle. Just in case the world's in there.
I hope that never comes true. Some good questions coming in. Ryan River, when are the tokens coming out? Soon. Very, very soon.
We're setting a release date right now because we have confirmation they're on the way.
Yeah.
So
it's good. Christopher wants to know
weeks.
When is the next T Swift episode? You just never know.
Man, okay, hold on a second. This is a very good question. You know the question. You know what it's going to be because there was so much hope.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm sorry.
You told me to my face.
I know.
You and your lying wife told me to my face that you were going to watch it like that night or that weekend.
We were. I don't even know what happened.
Well, you didn't. You lied about it.
I did. I'm going to actually make her feel bad about
I'm going to make an episode about you not watching that documentary. I'm going to do my own podcast.
That'd be great.
Episode 1, Why I'm Disappointed in Zach. It's the name of the podcast and only has one episode. Is that.
I would love for you to do that. Danny asking if you can see your deck list. You'd love a sneak peek.
No,
I don't think he's posting it.
I'm going to keep it behind the curtain. And it's nothing. There's no special sauce in this game, really. Maybe like a Vis OTK that's a certain build. There could be some weird combo bolt and stuff that you want to keep hidden because you don't want people to know it's possible. But there's nothing new under the sun with Azalea. You won't look at the list and be like, oh my gosh, he figured it out. It's crazy. I think the fundamental question you have to ask in Azalea is, are you going pumps or are you going generic attacks? You basically need something to do before you fire the arrow. You also have to ask, are you going to run zero cost arrows or not? And if so, why? And if so, what's your curve? So it's really just about the balance of arrows, your sideboarding strategy, and a lot of that is like feign death, defense reactions, etc. And then whether or not you're going to run pumps or attacks, because you need stuff with go again between loading and firing the arrow. or even just before loading the arrow at all. So you can go heavy into that and do a bunch of attacks with like Scar and stuff, or you can go pumps. My problem that I was running into with pumps more than anything was that a handful of pumps equals 0 damage, and a handful of attacks equals some damage. And some damage is greater than 0 damage in this grand scheme of Flesh and Blood.
It's true.
So you have, it's the same slots, it's the same basic math. I'm not doing the yellowish curve, block 2, load an arrow, do something with the card, fire. I don't think that deck can win enough against really tweaked decks in the current meta, Chain especially. And we tested that a bunch. That Fund Azalea deck that I made, that was yellows, fundies. And it was basically playing fundies the whole time, but the Chain isn't playing to fundies.
Yeah, he's playing way beyond.
That's a totally different world now, so you cannot play a fundamental trade exchange game with Chain because it's a combo deck that wins on turn 6. So that goes out the window. There's nothing fundamental about that. That's a 13-card hand. There's nothing fundies about that. So you got to play different. And then I couldn't find a way to pivot between that against everything else and then the gas against Chain. So it's just about, and it's about making bets, right? I'm not going to win against a heavy control deck, so I hope they're not there.
Or you mostly hope you don't get paired against them.
I hope I don't get paired against them, and I hope that by the time that I'm doing well, they've all gotten beaten by Chain or Katsu.
Yeah, and I think that is a fair bet.
It's a bet. It's always a bet.
Nick Murphy says, can I specifically receive the promos that Zach has been holding? You can't. That's logistically not going to happen.
Ooh, Danny, I'll play this game. 50 Shades, is the list fully locked in? It is not. It's about 6 pivots right now, 3 to 6. Depends on the day, really.
Well, tomorrow's the day.
Are we going to get to play it all before then? Are they into the plane or something?
I mean, I'm bringing my decks, and I'm bringing probably like 8 cards outside that.
Are you carry on that?
Yeah.
You don't want to. I'm not gonna check anything. I'm just gonna carry everything on myself. Did you pay for a check bag for your boy?
For your friend? I don't remember.
I hope you didn't. I don't need one.
No, not on the one of the flights. It may have required it.
I don't check anything. Okay.
Oh, I'll get you that math.
Jenny gonna asking, are you running traps? I am running 2 traps.
2 different traps or 2 copies of a trap?
I'll never tell.
Ooh. That's good math. So you don't want your opponent playing knowing how many traps you got.
My gosh. But
you see one trap and then you get nervous.
The testing. So this is the beautiful conversation about sideboards. You probably had this question as well. And even defensive cards in general, defensive reactions especially. What is the defense reaction ultimately doing to make it better than a card that's attacking? So if a trap, for instance, which is a real pain to play, let's be very honest about that. If a trap is blocking 3 damage and doing 2 damage,
Chat loves that you're on traps.
Like Pitfall. So if Pitfall is doing blocking 3 and doing 2, that's 1 card for 5. That's a pretty excellent exchange.
Yep.
If, for instance, if that was a 4-card hand, it'd be a 20 damage hand. I don't hate that. That's a very efficient hand. Not that it would happen with all these traps, but so that's a fine trade. But then if you look at something like Tripwire, 0 for 4, it blocks 4 damage, which is fine. If it also blocks a hit effect that is on 4 attack, that's pretty good, right? Like a Mask of Momentum trigger from Katsu. That's about 7 damage in value that you've gotten from 1 card. If it also has the potential to block any hit effect, Crippling Crush, for instance, and I don't lose 2 cards and I still block 4 damage, that's 10 in value for me because you couldn't pay the 1. Those are the kind of exchanges that I think are going to win games. So you have to play to that math in your class.
Yeah.
And then try to make that math happen.
Yeah. You have to know where you're going to have the big plays.
Yeah.
And that's a game swinging.
That swings the game. Yeah. If 1 card is worth 10 value for you at any point in that game, like Feign Death, against like the Visceral OTK that when you were doing that stuff, if it blocks 27 damage or if it blocks 15 damage off of your super pumped Dark Knight Ascendancy, and it denies you that many Rune Chant tokens, and so that exchange is like 7 both ways, it blocks 14 damage, and it's like... That exchange is too good. So you have to find ways to make this exchange with your class cards if you can. I think Azalea's class cards are big swings, but not always good. So find them at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, even Red in the Ledger is a game swinging card.
Huge.
But sometimes irrelevant.
at the wrong time, it's wrong.
Bravo if I'm sitting there with a hand with Crippling Crush and it's like...
Well, that's why Dash
okay,
and Bravo...
swing for 11, I guess.
Dash and Bravo, it's like, all right, I'm going to hit you with any arrow that I want. Okay, none of them matter. All right, moving on. I'm not going to win this game.
Yeah. That's right. Well, if you're in Vegas and you see us, feel free to say hello. We'd love to say hi. And hopefully we get to play against a number of you. Between all the events, we're going to play a ton of people.
One more thing. Let's talk to Humongous, which is funny. I always have to read that and make sure it's not like an untoward joke. I got to say I'm pretty on edge that my budget decks aren't going to be able to compete in any of the side events. What do you say to that?
I think it'll be fine. A good example of this is my brother been playing a lot of Ninja, and a lot of times he's replacing Tunic with Cross Strap.
Mm-hmm.
Tunic, staple card, expensive, great card. But games are actually fast enough now that you might get 2 counters off that thing.
Yeah.
And so like there's a common equipment that's kind of comparable. So you have to get to turn 9 before Tunic is worth more. Technically you can block with Tunic as well, so that's a different factor. But like I think there's a fundamental version of this game. There are some decks that are harder to pull off without some of those cards. But even a lot of the top chain decks are playing whatever the chess piece is for Shadow.
Aetherweave.
Instead of Husk in a lot of matches.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be ideal, but like I think it'd be just fine. And honestly, like it depends on how experienced you are, but like I think a really good player with a deck without many of the expensive cards would still win most of their games against average players.
Yeah, a decent amount of the games for sure. And also, if you know you're on a budget deck and you're like new and you haven't played a lot, you're probably going to lose. But I mean, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's just fine. Especially the losses are way easier on about beer 3. I've found. I think that's really that's where the budget that's when the jitters are gone.
Yeah.
And you can really just enjoy. It's like I think at a certain point, if you're of a certain skill level and you're on budget lists, which is a fine and a great place to be, you just have to come into the event with maybe a little bit different expectation of like, I hope I can win a couple of games, or like I'm here to learn how to play Flesh and Blood better.
Yeah.
Or I'm here to like draft and get some better equipment so I can upgrade my decks. Like these are all very viable and valid things, and you still get to talk to somebody across the table and have a good time.
I was about to say that another piece of that is, if you can, lean draft and sealed.
Yes.
Like that
all the time.
Part of the reason those formats are so good, besides it being more about the fundamentals of the game, because it's simpler and you don't string big things together. In Constructed, you can lose because you just didn't know better. Like you didn't know that they were doing the string of things, right? So you don't know how to strategically prepare for it. But draft and sealed is just so much more basic. So that's good for new players. The other thing is it lets you build your collection, which is great. The other thing is that it puts your collection on parity with everyone else because you're all opening the same amount of product. It doesn't matter if you have a Tunic, or it doesn't matter if you have the right piece if you're just opening 6 packs and building a deck.
Yeah,
so it's the ideal format.
And as Ryan said, there's a lot of weird things that are there's some all common events, some blitz decks, those kinds of things. Yeah. So you can also just get your feet wet there,
which is great. That's the kind of events you need to have at a big event like this to make it. You just want it to be enjoyable by everybody, and that's also why I love. Because if you're going to the calling, it's a bigger event. Like you're probably pretty serious about this game, or you're at least very interested in this game.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea that on Saturday is constructed, and if that doesn't go well for you, Sunday is sealed without the top 64 players in it.
Yeah, true.
That's really great.
True.
Same thing with like Dallas, where Saturday is sealed, but then Sunday is constructed without the top 64 players from sealed in that event. So it gives you a little bit of both, and then you also have the side events where there's sealed, draft, blitz, and everything in between. So you just find the events that seem fun to you and go in looking to meet people, have a good time, and learn. And I think it's hard for that to go wrong.
Super fun. All right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you in Vegas. Say hi.